How do we do this again?
I think you go, welcome back to everybody to another edition of Oil and Whiskey. And then you go, hey, man.
Hey, man, what's going on?
What's been going on, man?
So, new book, The New Rules of the Road. We got it right here in studio.
Yeah, thank you. And we are definitely under attack. Not like by some government body or something, but just like the world is kind of moving on and they don't really understand what we do. So as our little industry niche thing continues to kind of chug along, I think everyone's like, I remember it wasn't that long ago. If you were an import guy and you showed up at a hot rod show, they were telling you to get the F out. And I don't think that's happening anymore. So that's when we really did the shift of okay, we're going to lean hard into hiring enthusiasts. And I can hire an enthusiast, and I don't care if they didn't even graduate from middle school. If they're a clear communicator.
Most enthusiasts.
Right. Well, right. And I'd say only about half of our staff even has a degree. I don't care. One of our video guys, who is one of the best video guys I have ever worked with, came here as a kid as an immigrant.
Yeah, we can edit things out on this podcast, which for your benefit, that would be the best thing we could do. There's nobody that knows anything about anything that would ever say that the front of that car looks bad. It's one of the that's
we could do a poll if you want to do a poll.
100%.
That's fine. We can do a poll.
That'd be like, you know what the worst car Chevrolet ever did is the C2 Corvette. You gonna kick it off or we start? Are we rolling? We're just rolling. Because my intro wasn't good.
Your intro wasn't good. We'll do it. Tell you what, that shirt's nice though. I like that shirt.
Like that one.
I do like that
We're
shirt.
running out of t-shirts. So.
It's been tough. Welcome everybody back. Another episode of Oil and Whiskey. This week, Dan Kahn. Dan Kahn 2. Dan Kahn the second time around. This time in person.
In person.
We said we were going to have to run it back, and we did. I'm glad you
missed
guys.
the first one.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, I was in a motorhome in the middle of Idaho, so.
Yeah, Dan was able to make it on family vacation in a motorhome with no internet service.
It's crazy how he
yeah,
done
it's wild.
Thank you.
He made time for us.
We got a doctor's appointment. I don't know what I had.
Must have been something super important.
Yeah, I'd go with something that's super important. Yeah.
I think it was my daughter's swim meet that I was at, if I remember right.
Did she win?
That is important.
I thought it was Maddie's quinceañera.
No.
It wasn't?
It was not.
Not doing quinceañeras.
Cheers,
Yeah,
guys.
cheers, man. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Right on. We were talking before, which is I thought that was an interesting conversation, but I botched the intro, so then we got cut off.
Start.
But the listening to your own podcast thing,
Yeah.
right? Because you got a podcast, and
I do.
It's awesome, but you can't listen to your own podcast, right?
No, I don't even like the sound of my own voice.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's tough.
I
don't think anybody likes the sound of their own voice.
No.
Because it always sounds different than what you think you sound
In
like.
your head.
Yeah. You're like, there's no way I sound like that.
Idiot.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. And I did a podcast. Do you guys know Robert Kibbe?
Yeah.
From Muscle Car Place? So Rob and I did a podcast from 09 to 11, and we did 100 episodes, and it was called Cars for a Living. And back then,
That was before Kibbe and Friends or whatever?
Way before Kibbe and Friends. And I had just started my company, and Rob was already doing Muscle Car Place, and he and I were friends. And he's like, hey, we should do a trade podcast to talk about how to work in this industry. And I'm like, okay. And to get a podcast back then, there was no Apple podcast app, there was no Stitcher, there was no Spotify. You had to download an RSS feed.
Oh.
So
You get a ham radio license.
literally
that?
I would tell people I have this thing and they didn't know what it was. And then we had a pre-written email we could send them to explain here's how to download the MP3 and
I'll just send you an SD card here. You can listen to it.
But it was cool. But again, I think we did 100 and something episodes, and I don't think I listened to a single one just because.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like I said, the only ones I've listened to which are just partial are the ones that I'm worried about editing them properly.
Yeah. Once you've lived it,
controversial stuff.
you've
been there.
You've had the conversation. It's great.
Yeah.
And I've always said, even when the Rogan thing, everyone's like, "Oh man, did you go?"
I still haven't listened to it.
And I won't because I'm terrified because I know that I'm gonna not like the way I sound, and I know there's gonna be things the way I say it that hindsight 2020. I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said it that way. It sounds stupid, right?
You
or you were wrong about
softball, or you want me to?
No, I mean, but ordinarily I would jump at the opportunity, but I kind of agree with him on this, and I didn't listen to that one.
But the ship sailed at that point. Like there's no agonizing can take back what's happened. So why no?
And
Let it be out there.
I get the impression that he's not doing a lot of editing. Is that right? Like it pretty much is what it is.
I'd like to think he edited that one pretty good because we said some stupid stuff.
thing that-
Surely it's not out there.
Well, the only thing that I know he would
He
have
does not edit.
because they brought it up like during, and it got really awkward.
Phil brought it up.
Out of all people, Phil smoke bombs this thing.
It was still on there.
Was it?
Yeah, because Fritz called me.
Okay.
Right afterwards.
Somehow it went into steered off to a conversation about Billy Mays. Remember the Billy Mays guy?
Isaac Clean.
And Phil says something about like, oh yeah, that dude's dead. Fucker had a heart attack. I think he was just like crushing.
went on a
cocaine
bender
or
on
went a
cocaine.
bender. And you know, Jamie, the dude, Rogan's guy, he's like, excuse me, guy, I'm actually good friends with his son. So I'd appreciate you guys not talking about that.
Because Joe was like, "Hey, pull that up. Did he die from cocaine? Pull it up on the thing." And Jamie's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I don't even want to go there. I'm friends with his son."
Oh wow.
Well, then
It
was like an hour later. Then Joe brought it back, said something else about, "Oh yeah, like Billy Mays." We had a show. I was like, "Man, you're going hard on that."
But that's you would never know your
Out of all the
landmine. That is a crazy reference.
That
like
is.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why. Which I was listening. I get a lot of shit for another reason why I don't listen to him for my shout outs. You know, I've been known to shout out a few times.
You give a lot of shout out. You're the shout out guy.
Well, I don't think so.
The sultan of shout outs
Because,
is what they say.
You told me about, was it Andrew Schultz? Is that the dude's name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny guy.
Yeah.
I knew of him, but I never really listened to any of his stuff. Well,
He gives some shout outs.
Yeah, he was on Rogan just recently, and it must have been like 16 consecutive, just back to back to back to back to back shout outs.
I just
It made me
listened to-
feel good.
didn't
good.
beat you.
Huh?
He didn't beat you.
No, he smoked me. He
think so?
destroyed me.
And
Yeah.
he calls them shout outs.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
literally
yes.
says like
Yes.
shout out, shout out, shout out. I'm like, okay. All right.
Yeah, he like rebounds shout outs. It's like shout out to so it's shout out to it's
He's on
just shouting
he's
it
on a
out.
tour right now. Did you watch his Netflix special?
I downloaded it but haven't watched it yet.
It's good.
Yeah.
It really is good. It's a great like story, right? He brings you all the way through, and yeah, it was a good.
I just got a problem with the haircut. Can't get past it.
It's a cut.
It's a choice.
It's
that
it's
and
with
the
the mustache.
standalone mustache without the beard is also a choice.
It
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
We've got maybe you saw him in the shop. Spencer, one of our fabricators, young guy. I mean, Spencer's a handsome dude.
Yeah,
right?
that's his thing though. He's not
And
going to
he's
do
got
it.
a
He's not
stash.
gonna-
Just it is like a push broom and zero facial hair.
Yeah.
but just the most prominent push broom Freddie Mercury
It's-
mustache you've
I
ever
think
seen.
we're all
70s
roughly the
mustache.
same age, and I think like
The connotations.
to me, yeah, the,
You don't have to
Yeah.
even finish.
yeah, the dude with a standalone mustache is a
Yeah. Well, he
it's a look.
Spencer leans into that too.
Yeah, he
but
does.
honestly, it's probably got to be the top 3 mustaches that I've ever seen. It's that good.
Well, when
it's
you
a
take-
great mustache.
When you look at it compared to the rest, like the fact that there's zero sideburns, I don't even see any stubble like down the whole rest of the face, and then it's a fucking push broom. It's crazy.
It's a great.
Yeah,
it's
he's gifted.
Yeah. Speaking of being on tour, you're on a book tour basically right now, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Kicking it off.
Yeah, that's it.
So new book, The New Rules of the Road. We got it right here in studio.
Yeah, thank you.
You're kind enough to bring some for all of us. I'll read one. Phil will read most of it, and then we'll both tell Jeremy what happened in it.
Well, were there pictures in it? I heard Josh
He
ask.
said somebody said something about pictures.
There's cliff notes in the back, but there's
Okay.
no pictures.
Perfect.
Yeah. There's a picture of me.
Is
but
it?
You don't need that. So.
Is it on Spotify? Can I listen to
I
it?
haven't done an audio yet. The publisher asked if we would, and it was weird because it was a weird conversation because they were like, "Yeah, we've got like really good people that'll do it," and I'm like, I kind of talk for a living. I don't
Yeah.
feel great about having someone else read my thing, so
Okay.
so we're talking about it, but
I mean, I don't like listening to my own voice, but I want everybody else to listen to it.
that's pretty much it. Yeah. So that's the book, and it's really about kind of where PR and marketing has gone and where it's going. So it's not automotive specific, but most of the analogies and the stories in the book are automotive because that's obviously what I do. So
When did you have the idea to do a book? Or
So-
was it your idea?
no, it was. So what's weird is in 2008, when I started Kahn Media, before I started my company, I was working for another guy, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the last episode. I was working for a guy who had a very traditional sort of PR agency. And my wife was getting an MBA at the time. Look, dude, I barely got a bachelor's degree. Like I barely made it through a state school.
Yeah, more than I did.
I'm not. I'm not a sit still in a classroom.
I get it. Y'all two are smart. Congrats.
And my wife is way smarter than me, and she was her degree was being paid for by her company at the time, and we had just gotten married. She's like, "We should do this together. It'll help your career." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I had that meeting at the university where they're like, "You really don't have the grades to get into this program, but we're going to kind of just like let you in anyway and see how you do." And it was the first class, not like the first semester. It was the first hour that I'm like, "Yeah, this sucks. I don't want to do this." And so I left. And then at night when she was in school, I was just reading all these books I thought were interesting. And I was like, I think this whole model is about to implode. And the entire way the companies market and sell their products is going to change. So I just started reading stuff I thought was interesting. And to be totally honest, the idea for this book came from a book. I acknowledge the book in it because the title is similar. A guy named David Meerman Scott wrote a book in like 06, 07 called The New Rules of Marketing and Public Relations. And he did something that was really unusual back then. And he did what's called an ungated ebook, where he just wrote a book, published it as a PDF, and just put it on his website and just said, "Hey, I wrote this thing, and if you want it, you can just have it."
Wow.
And eventually it did make it in print, and
now Amazon's selling it.
Yeah, and has done really well. But at the time, I just like downloaded this PDF, and I literally went to like Kinko's or whatever at the time and just said, "Hey, I need you to print this thing." And it was like 200 pages. And they printed it, and I read it. And he was the first person I'd ever heard talk about the fact that like the entire centralized media is imploding. And like this thing we're doing literally right now, he predicted this.
Really?
He's like,
In what year?
This was in like 06 that he wrote that book.
Wow.
And he literally said, like, the internet is going to make it. So if somebody wants to compete with radio or TV or a newspaper, they can just create content. And if you do a good enough job, you're going to build an audience and people will follow you. And even if you have 10,000 listeners instead of 10 million listeners, those 10,000 are going to be hardcore and they're going to be super loyal and they're going to listen to everything you do. And that kind of like, that became the backbone of a business plan that became my company. And so all these years I was kind of like, okay, a lot of what he said is still valid, but like now most of that stuff has happened. So it's like, okay, so now how do we recap what is happening and then where is this all going? And so that was kind of the idea. It sort of floated around in my head. It actually came to me on one of our big kind of multi-month kind of walkabout road trip things. So I started writing it on the road. Forbes published it. And the funny thing is, things are moving so fast now that I tell stories. That's how I kind of teach my team and talk to people, is through kind of analogies. And so the stories in there, some of them are very timeless. Some of them are very like just since I wrote it, like there's like a whole chapter in there on Elon.
Yeah.
Well, from when I sent that to the publisher 9 months ago to now,
Did some changes.
there's a very different vibe out there on my friend Elon. So like, all right, well, that is what it is. Like,
Be careful dropping that name now.
Yeah. So
A year ago, he was saving the world.
he was Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
Now people are burning his stuff on parking lots. So yeah, it's it is what it is. But yeah, that's
wild. I was talking to this last weekend where I was talking to Eddie, the marketing guy from AMD, from Automotive Direct. We were talking about podcast stuff. Great conversation. He was talking about his old boss. He came from radio, talking about his old boss, talking about podcasts. And I know probably people have made this correlation before. I've never heard it, and it like opened my eyes when everything started making sense. And he's talking about, the podcast thing. It's talk radio. It's no different than talk radio.
Yep.
Like there are people.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the same exact thing as talk radio. And when you start you start thinking about it that way, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got uncles. I've done it. Like sports talk radio. Like this one, we're talking about Alabama football. I'm going to listen to it for 4 hours. The only thing we don't have is like listeners that call in. Other than that,
we did that once, though.
We did do that once.
It wouldn't go well.
And the fact that it's the same thing, and the fact that you're not having to wait for a radio station to put out what you like, right? It's free market. So you're going to find, the most niche, like, model trains made out of wood, in Pennsylvania only. Like you're going to find a podcast about it. And it's the same thing. You're going to listen to things that you care about. It's not a new. That's the first time I've heard somebody talk about it. They're like, yeah, it's nothing new. It's just on a different format, and it's people that are able to do it and put it up their own.
I think what's new about it, though, is the marketing potential for it. Like when I think about myself, like how I'm marketed to and how I digest it and how I get hooked. Like just this morning, again, I'm listening to Rogan's talking about, something they're elk hunting, right? He's talking about the pack that he uses. This dude, he goes out there and he can pack this thing with 100 pounds and it's so organic that he rolls into and if you want to get a pack, man, these are the best.
Eberly
I
stock.
don't retain a lot, right? So I didn't remember the name of it, but
it'd be Eberly stock for sure, 100%.
But I mean, it hooks you. I can't tell you how many things in a podcast that have popped up to me, and I'm like instantly just I Google it.
But that's the best one is when it happens organically,
right?
Yeah.
And even like on-air reads on podcasts, I'm fine with. But like I listen to Sean Ryan sometimes.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, like he used to do on-air reads, totally. I don't skip through it. I listen to it, whatever, price of admission, cool.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and I don't know if this is a Spotify thing or a Sean Ryan thing. All of a sudden now there's these like very produced, like it's not him.
Okay.
It's some like, hey, Tide laundry detergent, and like they do the whole thing, and I'm just like, oh come on. Yeah, I don't want that. Good for him.
Yeah.
Guy's got bills to pay. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, but the organic ones are cool. Did you guys listen to the Rogan episode with Bill Murray?
Oh, I haven't watched it.
I got through a good chunk of it. Bill Murray lives under a fucking rock.
It's wild. He has no phone or email.
Yeah.
Really?
He didn't even know who the hell Joe was. Didn't know who he was. He's like, I heard you're into fitness stuff or you do fighting or something like that.
He's also dry.
It was
also pretty.
It was a really wild interview, but the part about it that really made me what I thought about when you mentioned that was that he's like, yeah, do you have any coffee? And Rogan's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He's like, it can even be a couple days old. I don't care. It just needs to be coffee. I don't care if it's hot or cold. And they're all like, okay, that's weird. But you can't tell with him if he's being serious or not.
That's
he's so
the
dry.
beauty of.
And they give him a cup of coffee, and he's like, oh, this is really good. What is it? And Rogan's like, oh, it's Black Rifle coffee. He's like, I never heard of that. So the Black Rifle guys clipped that and posted it. And then Evan Hafer clipped it and posted it. It's like, this is wild. And you could tell it was totally organic. Yeah. And the founder 100%. Of the company is like, holy shit, Bill Murray is liking our stuff.
That's I think you can't pay.
No, you can't, and it just comes up organically. But I think that's when you surround yourself and you have a network of just good people and good things and good products that you can just kind of plug them in like that. I mean, at some point, we've talked about it over the last week, and Justin from Dakota Digital owes us fucking hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
right. I mean, I think
the fact of what you just said that's going to be bleeped out. We're not even going to. They're not going to even know who we're talking about.
Bleep.
Right.
Yeah.
He'll know.
But we should be on some sort of a profit sharing program.
Right.
I think.
But that's the thing.
But you surround yourself in these networks, and you don't mind doing it because it's cool. It's good a fucking product. It's you want to let people know. And
I can imagine from your side of things, there's always going to be the this is still the new frontier, right? And there's the unknown, and there's trying to quantify it, and CPMs range all over the place. But at the same time, that has to be changed. You talked about Elon. Think back about the election. Podcasts single-handedly changed the face of the election. They could possibly go down in changing the face of American history, possibly world history, depending on the chain of events. But that's because of a podcast, and that's because of, we're getting political, but it's facts, it's history, right? Regardless of the side, somebody deciding to do a few podcasts and somebody deciding not to do a couple of podcasts changed the course of American history.
But it's even more than that, because I took this huge, because I turned the book in, I think around mid-October. And then the election happens and we're all at SEMA, right? And then the results come in, and I took this huge sigh of relief, not for the political side, because I'm like, okay, the entire premise of the book held up. Because if there was some landslide the other direction, then my entire premise of my book just crap the bed, and I'm like, well, there goes that. But you're right. It's not just that one side decided to do podcasts and one side didn't. One side did podcasts with no ask. A lot of those guys, Patrick Bet David, all those guys have come out and said he just showed up. There was no like lists of things you can ask and
Right.
can't ask. There was no like
Open book.
green room stuff. It's like, let's just sit down and have a conversation. The other side is writing checks for millions of dollars to like Beyonce and Oprah.
They spent
and,
$1 billion.
Literally $1 billion.
For purchased media. Yeah, literally $1 billion.
So it was the
and
most.
still wound up in debt.
They spent more money on traditional media than has ever been spent in one election cycle. And the other side did all this stuff for free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that's like, okay, there's a huge lesson in here.
Yeah.
I just saw something recently kind of playing off of that. That was the next generation and how they consume their media. They don't want the polished, pretty pictures of things that are staged in what looks like a professional ad. They want somebody walking out of their house talking about the coffee they're drinking that morning or the shoes that they're wearing and just an honest, opinion of it. And that hits, for probably cost $10 compared to a $10 million professionally put together ad, and how much more that resonates with people nowadays.
Yeah, it's social proof. They just want to know. They want to know that my peers liked this. I don't care about some super slick production. I want to know what a real person thinks of this. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware of it in Illinois, but in California right now, one of the biggest streams happening on YouTube regionally is in Big Bear, up in the mountains north of
the
LA.
Eagle?
The Eagle.
The Eagle.
There's just a webcam that like they put in an eagle's nest, and this mated pair of eagles.
Yeah, but the Eagles, their egg didn't hatch last year. Of course, you're going to tune in because it hatched this year.
And it hatched.
It's a big thing.
Everybody is watching this stream. It's wild, and it's literally just a bird sitting in.
They fed it a fish the other day.
Yeah.
It's like a huge
Do you
thing.
think that got
was on the
more
news.
action than the anglerfish that swam up to the surface? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, didn't you
No,
guys see
I didn't
that?
see it.
No.
You didn't. My
I feel like that's
entire-
right in my feed.
Oh my God! Every Facebook, Instagram. I mean, all over. Like you open Yahoo or some of the other things that have the news crap when they come up. The fucking anglerfish was everywhere. It's a tiny little fish. You're used to seeing pictures of
It's
them.
got the light bulb that hangs up.
Yeah, it looks like a
okay.
devil. Like
Yeah,
these
it's
huge
only down.
fangs.
It's 50
now,
million.
okay, now they know what you're talking about. Yes, I have seen
and
that.
one
yeah.
like came up to the surface to 20 feet, and then it like died a few days later. And it was, I mean,
all over the place?
It was the most,
I didn't know
it was the
that.
most
I haven't
important
seen
thing
it.
in the world. But it's crazy how that stuff just gets out there.
Why is that? Especially like long form interviews, right? I understand the difference between a 15-minute or a 5-minute interview on a late night show. You can get these canned questions, and it's fake and can't ever get into it. So I understand the difference in a long format of like, hey, we're going to really get into these topics, but even people that you might disagree with on 50 or 60% of the things that they say on their opinion, you come away with it. At least I do. There's sometimes you're like, yeah, you know what? I kind of respect the dude some more now. And you almost feel like you've got a connection. You like him, and you might consume media if he's a movie star. Or there's I know I've gone and listened to music of people that I would never have listened to before after I've kind of heard their story. I'm like, so the humanization part. Why does the humanization part make you want to purchase or consume their goods?
I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say that we are living in a pretty siloed world. I mean, you just gave me a great tour of Roaster Shop, which is awesome. So thank you for that. And it's cool to I think you guys said there's 2 remote employees here, right? But most companies now have some version of hybrid. You're not interacting with people as much. You're not having those conversations. You don't get to know your work buddy that has one cubicle over, and all these details about their life because you're friends. So I think people still want that connection. And if you can get it by listening to somebody have a conversation for 2 or 3 hours.
Well, let's face it, that's the best way to get human interaction is when you can pause it or turn it off at any point in time.
True.
And then pick it back
Yeah,
up.
they have bad breath. I think it's still sort of like people want to have that connection. So if you can have it, and then you actually relate to something someone is saying, then
How much of it do you think is coming from judging the book by the cover? That you look at somebody, this is their political point of view, so you're not going to listen to anything that they say. Then you're like,
That's a
oh
good point.
shit, like that guy is actually into these 5 things that I'm into. I still don't agree with him on everything, but we gained a little bit of ground on.
I hope that's
something.
still happening. I would like to think that's still happening.
That's a great point.
That's a really good question.
Because
I think
your mind all the time, the mind's the laziest muscle. Right? So it's always just trying to figure out the problem as fast as possible. Like, I see him, he's wearing this, this, and this, calculation,
He's this
douchebag,
category.
right? Done. And then you get to know them. We've heard, the reason I said skirt point is
It's just because people say that a lot about you, is what, right? Is that what you're getting at? Is that the
yeah,
point?
but they haven't
It's close
changed.
to
They
home.
haven't changed their opinion.
He's
right?
not backing it up.
That's a horrible. No, but we've heard it a lot of times about this podcast. With builders specifically, right? And I've talked to people in parking lot of Columbus and other stuff. Hey, I listened to so and so. Man, I always thought he was kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And man, that dude knows a lot about this and knows a lot about this. And I heard his story. Man, that's really cool. And they thought he was an asshole, but really never interacted with him, right? Because, I mean, and let's face it, you've been in this industry a long time. Like, a few of them have egos, right? A few of them.
One or two.
I mean,
Right. Every single one of us have an ego.
I'm in the same boat. Like Dwayne, for example, right? We had Dwayne from American Hot Rod. I
Yeah.
thought Dwayne was the biggest fucking jag-off forever. Right? And we even had, we ran into him years ago in the early 2000s in an elevator at Indy, and he was an asshole. So ever since, I just had formulated this opinion. The dude was awesome.
It was a great
We
interview.
had a fucking
It was
blast.
a good interview. I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, it was a really good time. And he's so disconnected and really just doesn't really give a shit. And it was good. I like talking to him.
Yeah.
Paul Senior. I mean,
Paul
we went
Sr.
into it like this is gonna be the worst podcast. This guy's a d-bag. Like everything you've seen on TV.
Still may go down as one of the best ever.
Yeah. Like we all walked away like, holy shit, this dude is fucking awesome. Like,
Well, you guys kind of touched on that in the Roger Lee episode, because you're talking about like builders wearing each other's shirts and all that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's real. I don't know if that's a long-standing thing. I think that's new. I think people
Oh, yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah, I think you're right.
so I think people are now starting to realize like there's enough pie for everybody. Nobody's wants
That's
to
the difference.
fight. Like
Yeah.
there's plenty. There's always another customer out there. So like, and we are definitely under attack. Like not like by some government body or something, but just like the world is kind of moving on and they don't really understand what we do. So like as our little industry niche thing continues to kind of chug along, I think everyone's like, I mean, I remember it wasn't that long ago. I guess it was that long ago, but like if you were an import guy and
Yeah.
you showed up at like a hot rod show, they were telling you to get the F out.
Yeah, you get rocks thrown at you.
And I don't think that's happening anymore. I think at this point, like,
No, I think
Yeah, if you're-
I think it's because everybody's elevated their game. So a lot of these import guys, I mean, they show up, their shit's way nicer, way more thought out, way more techie than a lot of the hot rod guys. And you can respect. You have no choice but to respect it. When it was just import guys showing up with a Fast and the Furious body kit and a giant coffee can for a muffler, I think we were so above them in what we were building that you just didn't have any respect for them.
There's also an age difference thing. There's now we're at a show, you see a kid that's super passionate, even if the car's really not that nice, right? You're looking at it as like, we still need to employ these kids, right? Now, at least they're into it, right? So you've learned the 20 years along the way that whatever your flavor is, if you're into it, at least you're into it. Where back in the day, you didn't have the size of the businesses or even those older hot rod guys even giving a shit about like working to, looking to hire or grow or scale or anything like that. It's like, screw it. Like, I'm not into.
so you're just looking for project cars out there right now that you can help grow.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, as you grow and you mature, you start looking at it as like, man, if you're into that thing and you're passionate about it and you're a younger kid, you're getting into it.
Yeah, you want to
Great.
You want to encourage it.
Encourage it. Yeah. Get after it. It's I've seen that in, my son and stuff, but also as time goes on, the blends and the styles. I mean, there's so many things that you take from, import cars or European cars and you build into hot rods, and it's just all like blended.
yeah,
There's different styles,
Yeah,
but
you're
it's,
right. It's getting closer to just blending all into one.
yeah, it's just modified cars. Modified.
that's it. And I'm at the point now where I don't even really care what the finished product looks like. I respect the ambition.
Yeah.
And I've got several guys on my team where even if their project car of choice isn't what I would have chosen,
Yep.
the ambition of some of these younger guys is unbelievable. Where like I've got a guy who took out an E46, he bought it, and it's like like what they call it. Is it a ZHP? Is that the one that's like the one level under an M3?
It's a BMW, I think they call them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Beamer.
Like he buys this thing. It's like whatever like one level under an M3 is, but it's got all the
Yeah.
M3 stuff. And he's in a one-car garage in an apartment And his first weekend, he's got both subframes dropped out. He's got all the suspension blown off.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, have you ever worked on one of these things before? Nope. Figuring it out. YouTube. I'm like, right on, man. Like how do you not
Get
respect
after
that?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Actually, so me and Mike O'Brien, 3D Magic Mike, we sent a lot of just cool and funny and stupid shit back and forth on Instagram. I sent him something a couple weeks ago. It was a dude with a M3, whatever that Beamer. And it's just a kid in his garage, and he's just taking a cutoff wheel, and he just runs it down the side of the car, and he pulls the fenders out, lays a little football-shaped piece in there, just tack welds it in, and like, boom.
Wide body.
And it's like, I said to Mike, I'm like, do you ever wish you could just do something like this and not overthink it? Because it looks cool. What he did looked really cool, and you could accomplish that so fast. But like, we'd scan it, we'd 3D print something, we'd make a buck, we'd shape it, we'd make it the most complex thing. You'd have to pull max it or make it out of carbon. You're like,
And do renderings first to make sure it looks good.
Right. But this dude he's like, fuck it. I need more room for a tire. So I'm cutting it, pulling it out, and I'm making room for a tire.
The same, like I said, just modification, but the passion about it, right? The passion about seeing it through to the end, having, even if it's a full HD 6K picture in your head, or if it's just a grainy picture in your head, and it's gonna get clearer along the way. It doesn't matter. But like having the idea, sticking through it, and doing that. I mean, forget even the automotive industry, just any industry, but automotive industry for us for sure.
That being said, are we all still on the same page with the bro dozers and like the Chip Miranda builds?
Yeah, those still fucking suck. Yeah,
Hawaii style, squatted and stretched.
Is that what they call them? I thought it was like
A North Carolina squat.
Yeah,
North
didn't they
Carolina.
pass a law in North Carolina that you can't squat them like that anymore?
Yeah, I saw that.
That just makes them want to do it more. now that
Hawaii
it's
style
illegal.
is where the wheels stick out like 5 inches wider than the fenders, and then they stretch the tire. So
Okay.
like the sidewall is almost like horizontal. It's pretty horrible. Yeah.
225 tire on a 12-inch wheel.
Yeah, I'm not down. No.
I always stick by my philosophy is that you modify it however you want, but two things you have to keep in mind. The modification has to either improve the performance of the car or the styling of the car. Otherwise, then I don't like it. So then those fall under that category.
There's lots of things that I don't like, but at the same time, I look at some of it and it's like, it's better than doing some things, right? You're building something that I do not like, and it's absolutely useless,
But
and I'd rather you didn't.
Yeah, but
I can go the other
you
way,
made the
like-
car worse.
Yeah, the guy who's,
a lot of
made it
people make
worse.
the car worse.
I think we respect the guy who's got like the 1998 Ram 1500 that's doing that and trying to get to the point. It's
Right.
the high-end, fancy show trucks that are not drivable and don't have a drive shaft that I was kind of.
Well, they don't have the style, right, and the look, but they could be doing something different and not even in this industry. And not, I mean, I'm not making excuses for them, but they're doing something. They gave money to a shop that did some paint on the side, and gave some money to a guy that built wheels, and gave some money to that guy that built suspension, and a guy that did some interior. They just put together something that is utterly useless and horrible looking. But at the same time, they funneled.
When did you grow?
Yeah, that's what I was
conscience?
thinking too. I'm like, thanks
They
for putting the
funneled.
cherry on top.
They funneled money into the industry, and maybe somewhere down the road that guy starts a business, or maybe that guy sees that and listens to this podcast and says, "You know what,
not listening to it anymore."
maybe I'll do an El Camino next, or something." I don't know. I'm not. Maybe it's just today I'm feeling a little bit nicer, but at the same time, they could be doing any other industry, or they could be doing something that would be at a detriment, even further detriment to society. At least they found an outlet to screw around and do something.
Very thoughtful.
But I hate those trucks just as much as you do.
That's a very Ted Lasso thing to say. So good job.
Drink the shit out of the optimism.
Yeah.
It's kind of political almost.
Well done.
Walking both sides, non-committal.
I just, yeah. As long as they're spending money here, that's all that matters. In the industry.
Got it.
So the book, we're back on the book. We're coming back around to it. So you had that idea.
Yep.
When does it start becoming like I got to do it? I actually need to do it.
So I actually I wrote like half of another book, and the idea that I started on the road was really a book about like leadership And the whole, like, we used to be entirely in office. And then during all the COVID crap, because especially where we're based,
California.
yeah, they basically made us stay completely remote for like 2 years, which was insane. And I was so pissed. And I had to completely like blow up my business and reinvent everything about how we worked. And then in the middle of it, like half my employees are like, well, if I don't have to come to the office, I'm moving to Texas or Florida or whatever.
All you Californians act like they lock you in. You could just drive like 3 hours and you're in another state.
This is true. But like literally, I
move.
in protest, I was going into my office every day.
That'll show 'em.
And a sheriff showed up.
Oh,
It was like, I got to report that you guys. I'm like, I own the building. So
I'm here.
what are you going to do? And he's like, dude, I'm just doing my job. Like, he didn't want to do that either.
Right.
But so I start, like, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with was like, how do you do that? So I started writing that book and then I submitted the like thing to the publisher and he rejected it. And he's like, we don't want that book. We want a book specifically about marketing. And I'm like, okay. And so it took my ego a month to recover from that. And then I'm like, all right, cool. And then just started writing it. And I would write early in the morning and I ground out the whole thing in about 9 months. So kind of doing it before my workout in the morning. And then
What's that look like? Is that like what you see most of the people in California at those little coffee shops doing? I'm trying to get this California vision. Like, are they all writing books?
probably, but
Is that where it goes down, the creative?
I wake up at like 4 in the morning.
Really?
So I would do like an hour or two because it's really important for me in the morning to like just like you guys, I'm sure, like my kids have sports and all this stuff, and afternoons and evenings are insane, and I'm usually at work until 5 or 6 o'clock, and so it's important to me that I'm there in the morning to make them breakfast and say goodbye when they go off to school, and so I would write an hour or two in the morning, and then I would go for a run or work out or whatever, and then I'd be back by the time they're kind of getting going, and then get them out the door. So, no, but I did actually on the same trip that I did the first episode with you guys. I think the same town. It was the same town in Idaho, in Coeur d'Alene. That's where I finished it.
wow.
I went
full circle.
and I did go to a coffee shop. So yeah. And it was a very like hipster coffee shop, but it wasn't a California coffee shop. It was an Idaho coffee shop, but it was still like a lot of like brass fixtures and wood and stuff, like table like this.
More flannel.
We laugh about it all the time on the coffee shop thing. We're out in California, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year, you know, and it never fails. It's like a 10 o'clock or 10:30 in the morning, like grabbing a coffee or something. And it's like, what are all you guys doing? Mm-hmm. How do you get paid? Like you're just hanging out or you're just tapping away on it. Like, what are you doing? How are you contributing to society?
This is a valid question.
It
really is.
Like we talk about it all the time, and then we make up little stories about him. Like, I bet that dude's doing this right now. He's getting paid by so and so company, but this is what he's actually selling on eBay right now.
That's probably real, but yeah. But you know,
I hope not, for the betterment of society.
Since we're like lightly grazing politics here, this thing my wife and I joke about as we continue our mission to figure out where we're going to live, because it's not going to be where we live now. The thing we have determined is I want to live in a place that's run by conservatives, but I want my coffee made by a liberal.
Dude,
Austin, Texas.
Love that.
Because
Austin, Texas.
We have a house outside Austin for a reason, because like I really still want to have good salad, and I really want to have a good coffee, and I really want to have like not everything deep fried.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure there's not a homeless person sleeping in my front yard. So,
do you think California can flip back?
Man, I just had this conversation yesterday. A friend of mine knows this guy, Chad Bianco, who's a sheriff who's running for governor. And we were talking about it. And I'm like, man, I hope so, but I don't know. I think
It's a lot of cleaning up.
they've got a super majority that's so gerrymandered and it's so cooked at this point that I'm not sure you can undo that thing. It would be nice. It's a beautiful place. But
Yeah.
There's just too many people.
too many people.
Forget about the politics. There's just way too many people. That's my gripe every time.
It's too many people, and too much of it's too far gone. We went
But
through-
everything exists out there because there's too many people.
Yeah, where were we when we at the Roadster show?
Yeah.
You started getting a little nervous, and then there was something. Compton was a sign, a street sign.
Yeah, I know. That's
Oh yeah,
Were we in
that would do it.
Compton?
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
We
I'm like,
were-
That's not bad anymore, though, right?
I'm like,
No, Compton's still
I'm like,
bad.
this
Still,
is
okay.
Compton. Huh?
Well, we were it was like, I think, not City of Industry, but it was whatever there's like the meat packing district, and then there's like Compton, and then wherever like those factories are. We were right there in like the triangle. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, right, like, I got the spidey sensors are going off. And it turned out it was not a place that we should have been.
It wasn't. It definitely was. It wasn't a place you wanted. You didn't want to sit at a stoplight for any length of time. Was the feeling that I got.
Yeah, yeah. No, the weekend of Grand National was crazy because we had a lot going on with some family stuff and the Roadster Show, and I had a car in the Roadster Show, and my daughter was in a big water polo tournament in like South Orange County. So we were all going different directions, and my in-laws were helping out to try and shuttle the kids around. And I was going like back and forth to the show to all this random crap and coming back to the show. So it was nuts. And my in-laws were driving my daughter, and they were coming back from the tournament. And I don't know what happened, but something happened on the freeway where they shut the freeway down. And they got off the freeway, and my daughter called me, and she's like, yeah, we're off the freeway. I think we're near downtown. Where's Men's Central Jail? I'm like,
why?
That is the worst neighborhood in Los Angeles. I'm like, what are you doing? Lock the door. Ugh. Tell Papa to get back on the freeway right now. Like, this is where they pull people out of cars. I'm like, so yeah, it's not, no, that part's not great.
My takeaway, and this is probably more of a Southern California thing, but definitely Malibu South, right, all the way to Mexico. I think that whole area, that should have to be, we need to count up everybody, right? Do the census, cut that by 2/3, and then it needs to be some type of lottery system to be able to live there, right? Everybody wants to live there. I get it. The weather's awesome, but everything is a problem because there's so many people, and it compounds. Like, you're sitting in there in traffic, and you're like, this traffic is bad because there's so many people here, and you're looking like there's 4 plumbing trucks. Those plumbers wouldn't even have to be on the roads if there was less people. They're having to service so many pipes. All of those houses are so close together because it just snowballs. Everything, there's.
But you're coming full circle here. You were big on this like 2 seasons ago.
Oh yeah, there's a population problem. Every problem can be directly related to too many people.
But where do they go? Because if they come to your town, or if they like for example, like we've spent a lot of time in Idaho, Boise does not look today what it looked like 5 or 10 years ago.
No, but Northern California ain't got nobody there.
That's true.
I mean, if you ever
spread them out.
If you ever take the southern route from here to California, you'll realize that 75%
Albuquerque,
it's just desolate.
To Kingman, there ain't.
It's most
nobody.
It's actually most of the
Oklahoma,
country.
Yeah, Oklahoma. I mean,
you
all
take
of
the
Nebraska.
northern route, there's nothing either.
Well, yeah, all Nebraska. There's a lot
Have you
of
guys?
places.
You've gone to Blueprint? Have you been to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, forget it. Yeah, that's half of Southern California. You could live there and have 10 acres
totally.
apiece.
You land at you fly into Lincoln or whatever, and you drive, and there is just nothing until you get to Kearney.
We went there on Norris's plane.
Oh, well, there you go. I went
And
there
it
on
felt
Southwest.
like, what was the, oh shit, what was that movie? Knockaround Guys? You ever remember that movie?
No.
Yes.
Knockaround
With,
Guys. with
Vin Diesel, and he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it,
They go into that
all
bar.
I'm thinking is this. It's like these dudes flew into this desolate, like, just
yeah.
country airport.
I always told myself it was 50 fights. That's the number.
It's a good movie.
I know the movie.
But yeah, that reminded me of that. But yeah,
You
there's
could
a lot
do
of
it.
places you can move.
You could do a lottery system nationwide, right? Complete nationwide, and everybody gets their number pulled, and that's going to give you your address. And I bet you, rough math, everybody could get 50 to 60 acres. But you might pull it and be like,
50.
oh, so Salt Lake, huh? Right outside of Salt Lake's where I'm going, but I got 50 acres, and that's me. But that's where you got to live.
Or the middle of nowhere in Nevada, or whatever.
It could be.
Yeah,
But-
but Nevada's another one. I mean, that like
There is
75%
nothing
of that
in
city,
Nevada.
And then there's going to be the guy that gets, 50 acres, center of Rodeo Drive. You're like, well, this is mine now. This is awesome.
This is Bruce Meyer.
That's Bruce Meyer.
Yeah, there you go.
And he subdivides it, sells it,
Yeah.
becomes a billionaire.
Oh, there's rules. Yeah. I don't know how we got.
What is the population like in LA compared to Chicago? I mean, you usually have these.
And I don't know. I just know there's too many. Both cities has got too many.
Because Chicago does a decent job of, like, I feel like spreading out the population or organizing it. Right? Chicago's not chaotic.
Well, we've got room to
like-
spread. Like they got an ocean and a mountain. Like, and it's just no place unless they start like either get wet or you start climbing.
We also have good cars. That's the
You got good
we got
cars,
the
that's
weather
for
and we
sure.
got the cars, and that is the only thing that I will miss is the weather and the cars.
Yeah, the cars are cool. You see a lot of interesting stuff in action, which you do not see here.
I on Saturday morning, my son woke me up, and he's like just starting to get into the car thing, and I'm very intentionally not pushing it.
How
I'm
old
like,
is he?
He's 10.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna let him come to his own. If he wants to be a car guy, cool. If he's not, I'm not gonna be like my dad, who like pretty much like, if you want to have a relationship, you're gonna be a car guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. But he is coming into it, and he woke me up and he's like, hey, there's a Cars and Coffee. You want to go to it? I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. And we go there, and it's the usual, like the neighborhood we live in is kind of all over the place, and there's all sorts of the normal stuff. And there was a guy with a mint C4 Corvette with
C4?
the actual white tube socks and the white New Balance tennis shoes.
Yes.
And like he was the stereotype. I'm like, right on, dude. He had the window, the Monroney, the window sticker in the window. Like he was the stereotype.
Damn.
All the normal stuff. And in the midst of all the normal Cars and Coffee stuff you see, there was a Yugo with 2 Olds Tornado drivetrains.
No shit.
Two.
So it had 2. It had a 455 in front and a 455 in back.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
like,
cool.
Where did the guy sit on the roof?
No, it had like a kind of in the middle of the driver compartment. There was a little seat. I'm like, that is the
Honestly,
weirdest
that's
thing.
cool.
It was so weird. I'm like, someone spent a huge amount of time and money making this work, and I cannot tell you why.
That's wild.
But
That's a
Wow factor.
Jay Leno car.
What you do see out there, like I recognize it. You see high end, like custom built cars, which
Yeah.
you don't see. Like around here,
Being
you might
driven and used?
Yeah, you might see a muscle car, or like an old car we call it, which is like a '65 Mustang convertible. It's an old car.
An old car.
Classic.
I got an old.
Classic
My,
car.
my husband's got an
Yeah.
old car.
But
Yes.
you'll be
Yeah.
like, I forget
Yeah.
where we were going, and what do we see? Like, it was a 3-door Suburban, so like 72 Suburban. That was like, $500,000 custom built car, just sitting in a grocery store parking lot. Some professional built, but that's wild for me to see when you're out there and you just see these like, it's a high end professionally built
Just straight
roadster, or it's just
Just
out and
any
about.
hot rod.
Yeah, it's out and about. People are just using them. You just don't see that here.
yeah, a lot of hot rods too. A lot of nice hot rods. And it's cool. The traditional thing is really coming back too, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, Pomona showed that.
Yeah.
Speaking of traditional and Pomona, you debuted a car.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That thing's been in the works for a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I 32 Tudor. Well, we were
We were out there. How did we not connect?
Well, Jeremy, we were out there for
We're quickly.
about 3.5 hours.
I
So
love
we were
that, yeah.
we were out there for very short. Man,
So-
that
I
looks
like
good.
a 32 Tudor.
we were talking about that Fox you guys are working on and how it was mint. This is that. I've always
Oh my God.
This was a clean ass.
I've always wanted. I worked at Rod and
shit,
Custom
that's
from
cool.
thank you from like 01 to 04. I worked at Rod and Custom, and I really, really wanted a traditional 32 Tudor with a wedge chop.
Damn, that looks good.
Fuck yeah, that's
Seats are
badass.
And I looked forever to find a good car, and I bought this. I bought the body 4 years ago, and it was a complete running one owner, totally original 32 Tudor. And it was in the same family since new. And the I think the
You promised him you weren't going to hot
the
rod it.
grandson died of old age. That's how long it was in this family.
That's cool.
And the neighbor is a guy I know through the ham, and the neighbor already has a 32 Tudor, and he called me and he's like, "This thing is perfect and it's totally stock. You should buy it." So I'm
Cut
like,
it all
okay. And it was like an estate sale deal. So it was one of those
Oh.
things where you like submit your bid and then you don't know. And then like I never saw it. I bought a sight unseen. But I mean, my buddy's a car guy and he was like, "This thing is real. It's good." So I put in my bid. I buy the car. I did not know what I was going to get. And it's a bone stock, like 6-volt mechanical brakes, friction shocks, banger.
Did you steal it?
I got an okay deal. But I mean, the sheet metal was perfect. So I mean, but it wasn't like $5,000 or something. But
Right.
and it shows up, and my dad, who's 78, and is a total hot rodder. Everything he's ever owned has been modded like crazy. And my dad comes in and sees this thing. Is you can't. You can't. He's like, you can't.
Wow.
What did you restore it?
He's like, this thing, it didn't even need to be restored. It was like a parade car. And
shit.
he's like, you can't mess with this thing. It's too nice. It's too original. It's a one family car. He's like, if you have to, like, donate it to the Peterson and go buy a, and he's like, you
They made a
can't.
lot of them.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right, Dad. I'm definitely not going to mess with it. And then literally like a month
As
later,
you're
the
yarning
body's
parts
off.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the stance is perfect. Wheel and tire combo.
Thanks.
The rake. That's a really good car.
So the guy that built it with me his name's Joe Nye, and he's a Swedish guy, and he used to work for Scandinavian Street Rods, and he was their chassis guy, and he went off on his own and moved to San Luis Obispo, and his day job is working at a machine shop, and they gave him a corner of the shop to do car builds, and this was his first like full build.
Wow.
Where the deal he and I made was he's like, okay, we're gonna work on this thing together. I'll build it at my own pace. This is my night deal. So he built the chassis.
It's got Johnson's bones on it.
Yep. And he did a great job. The interior is a funny story because we decided in like September we're going to try and debut it at the Grand National, and you know John Buck is a client and we promote the Grand National, and so I called John and Kevin and I'm like,
I need a free space.
there's no free anything from those guys. I definitely paid for the space, but I'm like, hey, I really, it's important to me. We've worked with them for like 10 years, and so I'm like, I really want. I mean, I used to go to the Grand National as a little kid, so I'm like, I really want to debut my car at the 75th. It was important to me. Cool. It was like a cool, like an emotional thing for me. But then all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit! Like the car was in like a million pieces, and I'm like, we gotta like
make it a scramble.
It wasn't even painted when we decided we were gonna do this.
Oh wow!
So I'm like, all right, we gotta like make this thing happen pretty quickly. And so Cypress Auto Body, that does a lot of hot rod stuff, they did the paint, and then we're assembling it. And I had an upholstery guy lined up, and he was local to me because I was trying to do mostly local people that were smaller businesses, and I was kind of jobbing everything out. And they're really nice people, and they do beautiful work, but they just couldn't commit to a timeline. And I'm like, guys, I'm like serious.
I've never heard that with an interior shop.
It's shocking, right?
Usually they're always just like right on.
And I'm like, come on, like at least tell me when you can take it. Well, in the meantime, they were working on a 40 Ford that had been in their shop for like a year and a half, and it became very clear, like this isn't
the shop.
This isn't going to work. And from the moment I started talking to Joe about the Tudor, he's like talking to me about like who are you going to have do paint, who are you going to have do upholstery, and we're having this whole conversation. And he's like, yeah, I've got this guy that you should talk to, and he'll do your upholstery, and he's really good, but he doesn't talk to anybody, and he's retired, and his name's Tom Sewell, and I didn't know who Tom Sewell was, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like some old guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm like, all right.
He's an old guy.
And he's like, yeah, he's like, and when it became like real, like, okay, we got to get this thing going, he's like, I think Tom will do your car, but you have to like talk to him first. And I went into this conversation thinking I was interviewing shop to do work for me, and I did not understand. You're laughing, so you know the story.
He turned you around on that.
Like it became very clear very quickly. I'm being interviewed, and he's going to decide if he wants to work for me. But then I walk into his little shop, and the phone conversations where he was like, because again, I'm an idiot, I guess, and I didn't know who he was. And he's like, yeah, I've done some cars.
Yeah, like, just a few.
And I go in there.
He did a cart for us years ago.
Els?
And
Jim Eckford.
Jim, yeah.
There's the Doane Spencer car. Yeah. There's the, the SoCal Model 40.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Like the guy. Like an insane, like the McGee car, like, the knee camp, like
just great
the
stuff.
Most famous hot rods of all time. And these like little 8x10 photos that are like hung on his wall. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, those are like half of Bruce Meyer's cars you did. And he's like, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm good if you're good.
We cool?
All right, so we got this all taken care of.
That was it. There was literally the only thing I got to pick was the color. And he's like,
that's the best way to do him, though, when you get a guy like that. Like, Tom is cool. It's a different experience. We did a 33 with him years ago, and it was that way. It's like, well, Tom's doing it. So Tom's just going to do it.
And that's exactly what it was. Yeah. And there was a minute there where there was a lot of anxiety for me. So I'm like, because I had controlled every element of this thing up to that point, and I'm like, I got to just let go and just trust the process. And then he killed it, and he did a beautiful job, and I could not be happier. So it turned out awesome. But yeah, holy.
What's the color on that?
That is 62 Jaguar E-Type maroon.
Yeah, it almost looks like magenta when you're looking at it in this light.
The lighting in the buildings at the Roadster Show.
The rendering.
One of the other pictures was a lot darker.
It looks more. It's kind of like a coach maroon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very dark in person.
All right.
And then in those weird like sodium lights they have in the convention center. It's
what's the plan with that thing? Is that
There's
drivers.
There you are with your,
Yeah,
with your
drive it.
award.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got the right stuff. You know what? 5-speed, small block.
Yeah,
Chevy.
it's got a TKX. It's got a Blueprint 383 with a 471. Dyer superchargers from up here in Chicago.
Old school.
That's another cool deal where I called him like 2 years ago when I wanted the blower. And my dad bought a blower from him in the 70s, and it's hanging on the wall in my shop.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
And I called him, and the old man answered. I'm like, here's what I want. I want a 471. I want V-belt pulleys. I don't want a Gilmer. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've got one of those new old stock sitting on the workbench. And I'm like, of course you do. Right on. And it was cool. So, yeah, tried to keep it pretty traditional.
But you put radials on it. Excelsior radials.
I did.
Excelsiors.
So that's always
At least
the
it's
toughest-
Excelsiors.
That's
I
the
mean-
toughest decision always between the Firestone Pike Crust bias plies
Yeah.
because they look so fucking cool. And then you're like, well, but I do want to drive it.
I had a Model A Roadster a long time ago that had the Firestone bias plies on it.
Yeah.
And it would get like the death wobble so bad on the freeway, and it would scare the shit out of me every time I'd drive it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to put my kids in the car, I don't want to have that happen. But
Yeah, that's a kick-ass car, man.
thanks.
So show circuit's done now. Time to have fun with it, or are you going to tour
Gotta
it
get some
around?
road chips.
No, I'm going to drive it. The only other show, the show that I also, the two shows I really wanted to do is I wanted to do the Roadster show, and then I wanted to do Gathering at the Rock. So we're going to take it to that,
Okay.
and we're going to drive it. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Keep the
Yeah,
gathering. We
we've
keep
been
talking
wanting
about
to
the
do that
gathering.
too.
That's
It's just just no space for us. Is that right? There's not enough hotel rooms.
That's-
We could probably get the hotel rooms now, get ahead of everybody else.
No, we can't. Those things are sold out.
Everything is sold out. I got
Yeah.
accepted.
Hot runners plan that far in advance?
Weird, right? I'm doing an Airbnb if you want to stay at the house. I got extra rooms. So.
Jason keeps wanting us to come out there, do the show, and do a podcast at the show. And we're like, all right, that's great. And then it's like, hey, there's no place to stay. He's like, I know. Like, but if you can find a place to stay, I really want you to come out here. Well, dude, we're not going to in and out it. Like, how are we going to do it?
Yeah. No,
Dude, Vinny's approach just
Yeah, some RV in.
Well, we could just send an RV.
no, it was like
Van.
tent on the side of the road.
you can tent it with the buffaloes or whatever those
Yeah.
things are. And
No, I'm not.
I'm not fucking
Looking
with
to do
Buffalo.
that.
I've seen too many of those videos. And
And you're the type of guy that would
I would
get out
fuck
there.
with
You'd have a
Buffalo.
couple of drinks in you and,
hey, Josh.
hey, watch
Check
this.
out.
Did we decide if they're clean or dirty?
They're
I
dirty.
think they're dirty.
Yeah, that was a unanimous decision that they're dirty.
what, the buffaloes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gross.
You've done road trips before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is that where this is going?
We're not going to go all the way there. We'll just touch around it. You know, I can tell a decent story and not go
Keep it
all the way.
clean.
There was a time, we were doing a road tour, but we had to get out there to do the road tour. We had to leave late to haul a car. So we left in just enough time if we absolutely
Didn't stop to eat.
no stop, just a splash of gas. We left here, threw some clothes in the truck, and we're headed straight to Salt Lake, straight to Kindig's.
Okay.
But there wasn't even a minute to spare, right? So
It was like driver change on the fly. Just
yeah. So we're driving. Well, then when you know a long drive like that and you're swapping up, you know how you can get a little giddy and talk about things that you normally wouldn't talk about. So we got into some discussions from seeing, like, you know, animals on the side of the road and stuff. And we were ranking them on dirtiness and cleanliness and stuff like that. And it took up about 3 hours of time, so it made the trip better.
This is like if you would eat it, or this is just like in
Yeah,
general.
it's just how much,
like that.
let's just leave it where I left it.
All
That's
right.
the best place to leave it at.
Good enough.
I took
yeah,
care of
not
it.
quite like an I-65 run though down to Indy.
No,
It's a different
that's been another
conversation.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to keep that off the podcast. All right, so awesome car debuted at Grand National. Grand National in itself, Pomona was a good show. It's always a good show. It's funny how that's almost like two shows. You've got everybody that travels to come in to do the show, and they're doing the show. They're trying to win awards. And then you've got like Saturday. It's like, no, we live here. This is our show. We're doing our show our way. You know, we're driving in, we're hanging out and coming out. It's wild. That's the only show I can think of that's like that. That's like, oh, look at you and your cool little indoor car shows. We're looking for a trophy. We're out here with, 1732s that we drove here, 2 hours
The
away.
cruise-in thing is cool. The club thing is cool. And I guess I like entered the show. That actually was, I just wanted to like show the car there. I wasn't looking, I've been doing this one form or another for 30 years. I've never actually gone for a trophy at a car show. It's just not my thing. I'm not going to lie. You can see my picture on the Instagram page. I was stoked.
You were stoked.
I was
You were
stoked.
stoked.
I was really stoked. They're like, hey, I've been working my butt off on this thing. So was Joe for a long time. It was cool to be acknowledged, but I don't think I ever need another trophy. Like that was my one and done. I don't totally get the trophy thing. I totally appreciate it. And like, if somebody has the wherewithal to go after a Riddler or something like that, then hell yeah, go for it. That's awesome. For me, I would rather build something to drive.
We were just talking with Jesse Greening how stupid the Riddler is, and
Yeah.
he just
Yeah, they don't really even.
Well, yeah, it must be nice to have two of them. Like, who needs two of them?
Well, it turns out, so Jesse, that's been Jesse's thing. He's always gives us crap about, he's got 2 Riddlers, right? We have 0 Riddlers. So again, wearing each other's shirts, when you can start busting each other's balls for what awards you have and haven't won, that's when you know it's tight. It turns out, after being at his place, he doesn't have one of the Riddlers because Paul has it, right?
Yeah.
So Jesse really didn't win it, right? Paul has
And I think
that
Paul,
Riddler.
I think Paul kind of claims it too.
He did. He said, yeah, I won the Riddler.
Jesse was
right?
involved in.
Jesse was involved. So that's one thing. The other thing is even the Riddler he's got there, it's like a mini one.
It doesn't even.
It's
have
not a count as a full size.
doesn't have the bowl.
It doesn't have the cup.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I thought I wanted to eat cereal out of it, but it didn't have a bowl.
So instead of Jesse having 2 Riddlers, Jesse has 3/4 Riddlers.
yeah.
3/4 of a.
3/4 of a single Riddler. Yeah. But to your point on the awards thing, we had a good conversation with Roger too about awards. We had a good conversation with Vinny. It comes up a lot lately talking, and basically the consensus is we're all gonna bitch about it, but we're all gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's really that's what we came across.
Right.
I think Vinny had the best point of view on it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like the perspective part that's interesting is when, like, I know you guys had Shooting on and you had Bo Bachman on, and when you walk through Bo's place,
Oh man.
and you look at all the show rods from like the 60s and 70s, and they are so totally insane and not usable, and like
But cool.
but the business model is different then.
Yeah.
They were selling tickets to kids who wanted to go to a car show, and then they're selling the T-shirt, and they're
model
selling
kits.
the AMT model or the Ertl model, and it was just a different thing. So there's like, this is like the weird outgrowth of that.
Yeah, nobody was going like to George or anybody, Barrett, and saying like, build me the craziest show rod that's in your head.
Right.
It wasn't happening.
No,
It was a company thing, right? It was OCC back in the day.
it was a business decision. Right. It was exactly. It was a marketing tool.
Yeah.
So, to that point, do you think that 30 years from now, those bikes like the Jet, was it the Jet bike, Jet
Yeah.
Fighter bike?
Yeah, somebody will
Do you
be
think
collecting
people will
those.
be
Black Widow?
Black Widow. Do you think
There'll be
people will
somebody
looking at that?
collecting
There
those
will be
bikes.
a Bo Bachman that's
And-
going to
yes,
go around and
exactly.
say, I need to own all the American
And somebody will be
chopper
doing a
bikes.
podcast and being like, "Oh my God, that is awesome! That's so old and cool, and like it still exists."
Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me.
100% will happen.
Do you want
And
to buy
there's-
them all up now, sit on them for 10, 15, 20 years?
I didn't say it's going to be me doing it. I don't want to say they're going to be worth
Just throwing
anything.
it out there.
Yeah. No, but
I
there'll
always wonder
be
about
that
there's-
story.
There's something about just like nostalgia that maybe should maybe be forgotten. Like you look at a lot of old cars. Like there's some crap cars that have been built today. Not disrespecting any current
not
builders,
old
but
enough.
like
It's not
you've
old
seen
enough.
like imagine the worst car that came out that was like somebody clipped it with an S10, like a Highboy with an S10 front end, and it had like Kragers in the back, and it was like maybe a Essex cab or something. Now imagine that thing exists, it survives for the next like 60 years, and somebody procures that 60 years from now, and it's a survivor, like it's untouched. People could be looking at that and being like, dude, it's this thing's amazing. It's just how
It
they
will be
built
that
them
way.
back then.
It's just got to be enough time. Like we're looking at cars that are built now that like you just said, but then in 60 years, let enough time go by. You're telling me that Valley Rod and Custom and the Emerys, we're looking at some of the Barra stuff and being like, oh man, that's so awesome. It's gonna be
I think it's
No.
I think it's changed.
not at all.
It-
They're like, this is fucking bullshit. We're
Yeah.
building badass cars, and this guy, and that's just the way it was. No fucking different. But enough time goes by, and the Bo and Dave are not going to ever tell you that it's like this is the epitome of automotive artistry. No, it's a piece of their childhood, and it's a collection. It's like this is fucking cool. Nobody else has this many of
It's
them.
just interesting to see it now and then see how it's perceived in the future.
Well,
Right.
but like I thought, like since we're talking about the Roadster show, I thought that was, I was doing a live read thing with one of the local news crews, and I had to get there super early to that hall that had all the past winners, and the newscast lady was like off in her van doing her makeup or whatever. So I had like half an hour, and I was the only person in the room.
Oh, that's cool.
It was cool.
That's
and
the
I'm
way
just
to see
like
a show.
walking around, and I'm just like looking at all these cars. Some of them hold up.
Yeah.
Like there's some stuff from the 80s and 90s that looks really good. And even though it's like clearly it's got like the odometer gauges and like, it's all very
change
80s.
a few wheels. And
Yeah,
stuff like
but
that,
I mean, like the cars, like there's like a couple of cars in there that I was like, I would own this. This is cool. And then there's this stuff where you're just like, oh my God, like this couldn't have been cool then, and it's definitely not cool now, and it's terrible. And like,
Yeah.
but like the Dusari, did you see that thing in there?
Yeah.
Like that thing is still, I remember
is.
that as a little kid.
Well, cool will
It's
always
still
be
cool. Yeah. A Deuce with a Ferrari V12 and Weber's is cool.
Yeah. But you take the Doane Spencer Roadster, for example. I mean, that was built, mid-50s? When was that built?
No, 46.
Oh, really?
I mean, it evolved a lot over the time, but
like it was a quality built car, and it should retain the status that it has. It should always be legendary because it was well built.
Yeah, but it's well built because it was tastefully done. It's a hot rod. It's not a custom.
I know the year.
Yeah, like
and
Pearson Brothers Coupe, SoCal Coupe, those are pretty wild for
Yeah.
the
But they were
time.
cool.
And, yeah.
I have a
They look
picture
badass.
in our hallway. So when we moved into the office we're in now about 11 or 12 years ago, we doubled the size of our office, and I just needed like stuff for the walls, and I had no money. Just getting into the building was like, I was maxed out. And at that time, that's when they were redoing the Peterson. So that's when they moved all the cars into the vault, gutted all the galleries, put the metal ribbon things around the outside. And Terry, the executive director, said, "Hey, we're keeping all the important stuff, but all the like foam core printed materials and all the like posters and
You're
signage."
like, ding, ding, ding.
He's like, "We're going to dumpster all this stuff." And I'm like, "No, you're not.
I will take
I'm
it."
good." And I rented a Ryder truck, and I drove down there, and I'm just like, whatever you don't want, I'm not even going to look through it.
Yeah.
I'll take all of it. And I did, and it's all over my office now. And it's not like the valuable stuff. It's all just like
Yeah, but it's
Just
Yeah, but it's
cool,
cool.
nostalgic.
super cool.
Yeah.
And they had a large format printer, and so they were like doing these huge signs, all sorts of crazy stuff. And my favorite thing of that entire deal, and it's right in the middle of my office, is there was a photo that looks like it was taken on like a Brownie or a Rolleiflex, like one of those old cameras in the 40s. And it was a photo from the 1946 LA Armory Roadster show.
Oh.
Which, that's the one where Robert E. Peterson showed up, saw all these like car guys. He was a publicist and figured out like, hey, there's something here. I'll do your program for you. And then the program for the 47 Roadster show ended up being the first issue of Hot Rod Magazine. So there's this one photo from that show, and somehow they got it out of the archives and they blew it up huge. I mean, it's the size of this wall. And so I have that hanging in my office.
That's awesome.
And the Doane Spencer car is in the picture.
Really?
And what's cool is all the cars are super rough. And I mean, you can tell these are guys in their 20s that have no money, that are all like right back from the war. And there's like, Model A's on Model A frames, and there's like one Model A on a Deuce frame, and they've got like weird knobby like tractor tires.
Just
and
tires.
Like,
It was
yeah,
just-
like, and the wheels are all like weird, like Kelsey Hayes wires, and like some of them have bangers. And then there's the Doane car, which is
Over the top.
totally badass and not that different than it is right now at Bruce's. Like it's a little different, but the Duval windshield's there. It's got like the torque tube exhaust, like all that stuff is there. And even then, like looking at the picture, you're like, this one thing is not like these other things. So even back then there was like, and I don't think he had a lot of money. I think he just was really innovative and
Yeah.
willing to,
Just a talented
Yeah.
guy.
yeah.
You say that now, like, those are like not very valuable things. The foam core prints that come out. Just imagine 50 years from now, you're like, oh yeah, these are the foam core prints that came out of the Peterson Museum
even saying that
50
now,
years
like-
ago.
So we were just talking about like the door here, like it's a $2,500 door now that we paid $200 for, that somebody probably got paid to yank
Yeah.
it out of an old school. That
Right.
Yep.
and it's just subtle flex. Yeah, I've just got all the old material from the Peterson Museum. Not a big
Yeah,
deal.
not a big deal.
That's true.
The you mentioned Bruce's place. Does that place not? Is there any other place that gives you the feeling that place does, being inside there?
No, I've been in there. I mean, we work with Bruce a lot between the Peterson and we work with him on the Rodeo Drive Concours.
And he's one of the nicest, coolest.
I literally got an email from him yesterday because we do the magazine for the museum. And he sent the nicest note to the team just because he liked that issue. And it was like, I'm so happy and I'm so proud of you guys. And this is the best issue. And like, he doesn't have to do that. Like sending that to my employees and like the nicest guy ever. But I've been in that shop. He calls it his garage. You know, it's not a garage. It's like an art gallery. But like, I've been in there probably 50 times. And every time it takes my breath away. Like, how does it not? Like, you're sitting there and there's like the Greerbach Prudhomme Roadster and the Pearson car and then like some crazy Gullwing with Rudge wheels and the first Cobra ever. And like,
I don't ever like worry about how I act generally, no matter, you know, fancy, whatever it is. I'm going to be me. That was like monitoring the way I breathed, like way I like took breaths. It was like, don't breathe too loud. Like walk normal, like don't make a fool out of yourself. Like, and like hell, didn't want to use the bathroom because I absolutely did not want like some type of weird like thing to happen. Like I'd be the one that like broke the toilet. Like I was gonna be on my best behavior because it was literally like being in. Yeah, and Bruce is a great guy. Holy shit, we got to do that episode. We got to do that again. There's so many other stories.
Out, just sit there.
Yeah, he was awesome.
What's crazy is how Bruce is, the little bit we got to know him and how nice he was. You know, he sent us a great note too after the fact. But then, like when his episode went out, like we were looking at it on YouTube, I'm noticing like comments, and there's people commenting on that, and he's commenting back because I know what his tag is, and I'm sure people. I'm like, dude, this Bruce Meyer commenting to you on his YouTube videos. That's
pretty cool.
He's a busy man, but we watched the video.
yeah, but he is truly an enthusiast. Like,
Yes.
At the end of the day, and not like of one thing. Like he'll sit there and tell you like deep lore of like air-cooled Porsche stuff, and then switch into the hot rod stuff, and then switch into like I've had him go off on Jags about like weird Mercedes cars from the 30s where I'm like, I have no idea what you're even talking about.
Yeah.
But like he's super deep into it.
I mean, his whole collection is that way. It's like the absolute most desirable piece of equipment from every genre. I mean, you've got what Rolls Royce, or Bentley. I don't even know what they call them back then.
Ferrari.
You've got Ferraris. You've got Mercedes,
Porsche.
You've got the Crew
Hot
Black and
rods.
Prudhomme, Dragster, the SoCal Coupe. Was it the SoCal Coupe or he's got the Pearson
Yeah,
Brothers
SoCal.
Coupe?
Pearson.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, but everything was just like the most like tasteful, like the style. You look at everything, you're like, fuck, that is good. Look, oh, that's good. Look, oh, that's good looking.
He's got
Most of it didn't mesh, but it was just the overall look.
his rules.
So
His
good.
rules of what to acquire, though, like that's the best way.
What did he say about that?
It has to look amazing, right? It has to look cool. Doesn't matter anything else. It has to look cool. Now, if it looks cool, it also has to have a story,
Yep.
right? It has to have done something, right? It has to have provenance. Like it can't just be, oh, that's a damn cool car. But if that cool car can also be had 3 other times, and if it's just a rare car, but it doesn't look cool, doesn't care anything about it, right? So it has to meet both of those. He explained it, you know, that's how you can narrow down your choices, and it makes it hard, and it makes the hunt. His stories on on air and then especially off air on like procurement of stuff and the hunt and the chase and
the Ferrari that Testarossa was unbelievable.
The Von Neumann car. That car is
the way he chased down the car, the motor.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Wasn't there one other
The blind auction
criteria
one was-
that it had to be better than a car that somebody else had?
that Bruce Canepa had. As long as it was better than anything that Canepa had, he was fine.
Yeah,
with
they have
Canepa.
an interesting relationship.
It's so funny.
Did he? I listened to the episode.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
mine's
remember.
number 1. He's got number 3.
Yeah.
Did he tell you the story about the 935 K3 Kremer car and what Canepa did to him?
I don't think so.
I don't remember
I
if
would
he
not
did.
normally feel comfortable telling the story, but it's on the internet and it's been written about.
Okay.
And so like it's out there, so it's not like I'm spilling any secrets. But Bruce got the K3, which is the last production body car to win Le Mans outright ever. Like
Okay.
every Le Mans win since that car was a race car. This thing started as a 911 body, and like the Whittington brothers. I don't know. Do you guys know who that is? So
No.
So the Kremer brothers built a series of Le Mans winning race cars, and the Whittington brothers that campaigned that car at Le Mans owned Road Atlanta and are famous in a lot of different worlds. They're famous in offshore boat racing, and they're famous in air racing, and they're famous in car racing.
Wow.
And their entire deal was funded by stuff coming in from Colombia.
Oh,
And
Coffee,
super
huh?
sweet.
Coffee beans?
Yeah, coffee. Yeah.
Big time.
And
Bringing it full circle.
the story is that the reason they bought Road Atlanta is that they were using the back straight, and they would come in low under the radar and then land.
I did not know that.
And that's, I mean, and these guys,
That's
like,
a first.
if you Google them, like, they were going to Reno air races, and they're campaigning in like the top unlimited class in P-51 race planes.
Never heard this story.
Like, the amount of money it would take to have like Don Arano building you cigarettes and your offshore boat racing while you're also campaigning P-51 Mustang air racers, and you're going to Le Mans and Daytona endurance racing. Like, think about any one of those things, and you're doing all three at the same time.
Dude,
Didn't Panos?
Yeah,
have some-
something to do with it. Like,
Okay.
there's whole movies that are made about.
Okay.
Like, I don't think anyone's ever used their names, but like they'll
Okay.
like slightly fictionalize.
crazy.
So, and like one of them, I think, is either still in jail or just got out of jail. But like one of the two brothers, like, definitely did time.
Okay.
Because he got busted eventually. So like it's
no
not
big
it's
deal.
not like hearsay. Like, this was a thing.
Right.
And they owned this car. They won Le Mans, which, good for them. That's a spectacular achievement. So the car went into a museum, and then it changed hands a couple times, and Bruce wanted it. And that's his thing, right? Is he wants to own like the best thing, or the one with the best story. And he's got arguably the best 911 race car of all time. I mean, it won Le Mans outright. It's awesome. And not long after he got it, they decided to have like a boys' track day at Laguna Seca. And Canada did this deal where Bruce shows up for his first track day in his like full-blown Le Mans race car that like shoots fire. And like, you know, it's a legit hardcore endurance race car. And he's there, and I don't even know if he got track time in. I think he maybe did like one session on track. And he pulls into the pits, and all of a sudden, all these black Suburbans come in at high speed, lights on, flatbed, dudes in blazers.
Yes.
And they're like, this is government property. We are confiscating it. This was part of a drug running operation. And they load it onto the flatbed, and they leave. And he's just standing there like, I can't, like, literally, he just got it. And the DEA comes in and confiscates it. And he's freaking out. And then Canupa comes around the corner. He's laughing his ass off. And they were all actors.
That's a serious prank.
That's
I mean, like,
amazing.
the amount of time and money and energy that must have gone in to do that just to screw with your buddy is epic. Like,
Oh, I respect the hell out of that.
me too.
I respect that.
That is
hell
the
out of
best practical joke I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's commitment.
Yeah.
it. Man, that's good.
Yeah. So, but I don't know, like, we're talking about collecting and stuff, and it's just interesting. I think his collection is probably one of the most diverse and best in terms of just the provenance of all the cars. But I don't know, like, I wonder about the whole thing. Like, we handled the Mullen Museum for a very long time, and, you know, it was all pre-war French cars, like all Bugattis and Delahaye's and Delages, and even though that's not like my personal thing,
They're cool.
they're beautiful. And you can't, and he won Pebble, he
Yeah.
won like everything. He won like everything you could win. And he was his competitors were scared of him, but he was always good to me, and he was very generous to me in terms of taking me under his wing and teaching me about business. And I had a tremendous amount of respect for Peter. And it was really sad because then he got old and then he passed away. And he had the best Art Deco French car collection on earth, period. There was never anything like that before, and there will never be anything like that again. And within months of him passing away, it just sort of
Dissolved.
dissolved.
Went to different places.
Yeah, a million different places. Like, you know, people bought the collectible stuff, they bought the ephemera, they bought the cars, a handful of them, the kind of the crown jewels, thankfully, went to the Peterson, and they're going to stay together so people can still see those. It's like, you know.
But I mean, at the same time, it sucks, but it's what it is.
Right.
Like, nobody's going to buy the entire collection, and it can't live on forever. And if it did live on forever, sooner or later it'd lose its fucking prominence. So
Right.
It was a blip in time. It was a great blip in time.
Yeah.
It made him happy.
Makes
People
it
that
much
got
more
to see
special.
it happy.
Yeah.
And then it's no longer.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it's just like
It's just life.
it is.
So when you guys decide to build the American Chopper collection, that'll be your moment.
Honestly,
I could see that being a Josh thing.
You can
I
have the shark bike. You can have that.
Yeah. I could see you having like a,
I ain't no Paul
I
Jr.
could see
fan.
you. Look, here's what I could
It's
see.
more the trike collection.
I could see you putting up like a steel building, like a 5,000 square foot steel building, but finding some new
Concrete floors
new
or-
technology that makes it look like a log cabin, right? So they're like
New technology that makes
like,
it look like a log cabin.
it's like press broke sheet metal panels.
Okay.
So it's like a cheap
Right.
ass
like a
log
cheap ass
cabin.
log cabin. I got, you could say that.
Just full of OCC bikes and things like that, like
No.
the Jet Fighter. I could see in there.
57
I could go-
Chevy 3-wheeler.
I would be. I could see.
I could see having like
a
a
path.
wax figurine of Ricker. Remember Ricker?
Yeah, I know.
Old Ricker from.
And I watched that. It just never spoke. You know me well enough to know that never spoke to me.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about West Coast choppers. Now I could see.
El Diablo.
I could no actual bikes. An entire collection of
French
all
Bulldogs?
all memorabilia, like all of his Walmart toys, like every single T-shirt, all of that stuff, but never a
He'd
single
fucking
actual
He'll
bike.
sue your ass over that.
No, I remember. I'm not selling it.
Okay.
I'm just like
You know,
it's
he's selling cars. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
He's got like
He
an
moves
Instagram
through some
page
stuff,
and-
yeah.
Mostly nice stuff too.
that dude is talented,
Yeah.
super talented.
I like his guns. They're cool.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to own one because I wouldn't want to shoot it, but
I've
just
got one.
Look at it. Do you really?
Yeah, I haven't shot it yet though.
See, that's my point.
Yeah.
It's art. It just looks
Yeah,
awesome.
it just looks cool.
Yeah, I mean the collections are great. We've been to some crazy ones. It's amazing. We've talked about how many like hell, the place we were just at in damn Coleman.
Yeah, it was
we won't say the guy's name.
Right, but what's crazy is how these things just live in plain sight. Like they're hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
You would have no idea, and there's just 30,000 square feet of car collection, just like boom, right there.
I'm sure you're much like us. You've been in this a long fucking time, longer than us, right? And there's always that. Oh, you should see so and so. He's got a great car collection. Oh, you should see so and so. Or even being on events, and you're like, oh, we're going to stop at this collection, and you never know what you're going to get.
Yep.
More often than not, you're kind of like, oh, cool. You got a lot of those, right? Then you start like adding up. You're like, that's not worth nothing. That's not worth nothing. You get a lot of those, but they're not. And then you start. I'm just saying, it's just I'm not bad mouthing, but most of the time,
I mean, you're not.
especially when there's a scale, like when it's like there's 700 cars in this guy's collection. You're like, well, if there's 700 of them, and
Well,
you
we
start.
It's a lot of Sundays
I
to
think
make them.
Yeah.
we're all a little bit skewed. Like our vision's a little skewed on the one that we saw that basically looked like Meekum's Monday morning after the auction lot of things that didn't sell. But it was like 400 cars.
It was a
would you
lot
say?
of cars. It was a lot of cars.
Massive car collection of not a single car that you would want.
I don't get that.
Then there's times you walk through and we're
like,
we're
oh.
nudging each other like, oh shit, remember that one? That's where it went. Like, and you're like, yeah,
I've been in a couple collections like that where it's like, or like I went to a collection once a long time ago where it was a guy that wanted one of every variant of every Corvette ever made. And it was all Corvettes.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
But it was like the really weird narrow stuff. Like, hey, this one was like the only T-top one with a white interior or whatever. And I'm like,
what's the collection we went to? The dude that did
57s?
the roundup. The guy that
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that
one
was
of
one-
every Chevy.
Tri
from,
5
like-
Chevys.
yeah.
Tri
Oh, he
5
had
Chevys.
everything. It was
Yeah, it
like
was-
starting in the 30s.
But he had Tri 5 Chevys. He would have like 57. He would have a convertible,
Every color, every option.
every single color, a sedan, a hardtop, every single color, every option, and mint. I mean, flawlessly restored, just showroom new cars.
but you
which-
can't even drive all that. So what do you?
No. It's just it's checking off the box. But there's an OCD level.
That's what it is.
Of-
All of a sudden now it's like an obsession.
Exactly.
Now it's like a
It keeps the passion alive. Like you got to hunt the next one.
Yeah.
So the point being, we've always been those, and there's time. Oh, you got to come over and do this, and you find yourself places, and sometimes you're surprised. More often than you're not, you're like, oh man, this dude's got a lot of shit. You could sell all of them and have like a couple of cool things. We were at Jesse's place. Friend of a friend, Vinny's like, hey, we need to go see. This guy's got a cool collection. It's just like 2 miles from here. He's got all these Harleys and stuff like that. Oh, that's cool. So we go in there and he starts showing us, like, open up the place, just nondescript. We're looking at the Harleys. I'm like, damn, he actually does. So he has like every year of Knuckle, every year of Shovel, and every year of Pan.
wow.
Like, holy shit.
Really
yeah,
nice stuff.
Really nice. They're like, then this is awesome. And he's like, oh, you want to see the cars? So go through the next door, flip on the light, and you're like, oh, shit. And it's like cool shit. Like, nice ass
Yeah,
cars,
it's some neat
prominent
stuff.
prominent
Yeah.
builds, whatever. And dude was great. And that's one of those ones like wasn't planned, happenstance, and you're just kind of like,
that's
oh
the
man,
best
it's
part.
you're
then
like,
it's
Yeah.
you want to see the race car building?
Oh, I got
That's
the
another
race cars.
Race cars are over there.
Sure.
Oh shit! All right, cool.
Wow.
cool
Yeah, it was-
shit.
it was cool
Really cool. I mean, this thing's just like
But
it's
you're right. Those are like hidden away, and they're usually hidden away in weird places, like
Yeah.
industrial parks and
Yep.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. I did a thing with Bruce. It was a while ago now. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, where like it was like one of those deals where I got a call on like a Monday, and it was like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm working. What are you doing tomorrow?" And he's like, "Well, you're gonna come with me. We're gonna go. I've got some friends. We're gonna go look at a couple car collections." I'm like,
okay.
okay.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And we went up to NorCal, and we went to like a couple of hot rod collections that were cool and what you would expect, and it was neat and very impressive. And you ever heard of a guy named John Mozart? Have you ever heard that name before? I had never heard of him. And we go meet John in his parking lot, and he was like just like a normal dude. He's in like sweats, totally cool. And as it turns out, he was in the Volkswagen parts business in like the 60s and 70s in Cupertino and was just buying real estate for warehouses for car parts and ended up owning a ton of real estate in like Cupertino and that whole Silicon Valley area. He's now like the landlord for like Google.
Oh,
Got,
So
got
that's
him
a
a
win.
couple bucks. Huh?
So he's doing okay. And it was one of those deals where it's an industrial park, looks totally nondescript. And then we walk in and he had, thank you. He has like a thing with Harley Earl. So he has all of Harley Earl's personal builds. Like he's the head of design. So like all sorts of weird, like
that's
Cool stuff.
short
But
wheelbase Cadillacs.
Weird
like
stuff.
One of one and like weird Corvette based things that are Buicks. And like, it was like somebody had to hunt this down and build this over the course of 50 years. And it was pretty cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, I respect that.
It's weird stuff.
But again, those are all marketing tools, just like the Barris thing, right? Like
Yeah.
they were building all that stuff to go to auto. What was the GM thing? The with the bus, you know, and the,
what the hell did they call
not
it?
Autorama. They called it
Future
Futurama.
liner. Future liner.
yeah.
Well, they called it the
Futurama's the cartoon.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's the
Yeah,
future liner, but what did they call the
they had like their own little like
thing they built it for?
yeah, like a show.
Oh, it was the Motorama, wasn't it?
I think maybe it was something
Google
like
it.
that.
You Google it.
That seems like
I'm
a lot.
disappointed in your lack of knowledge
Yeah.
on things today, Josh.
Well, it wasn't.
Because,
It wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I know the future liner, and that's all that mattered.
Good spin. Good spin.
It was
thought it was like the
fair.
World's
I
Fair.
thought I was-
Yes.
Before
You're
you
right.
get
World's
into
Fair.
it.
Boom.
yeah, 1939
there
year
you
World
go.
Future liner.
Ooh, who knows things?
The World's Fair.
There was a. You're right though. There was some. Their GM show was like the motor something.
Parade of Progress was the thing.
Parade of Progress.
One of those things sold at like Barrett for a lot of money.
I think that was wasn't that the one Kindig did?
It might have been.
The thing.
Rob Ida's doing
I don't
one
know
right now.
enough about them, but every time you talk to somebody, you see one in person. There's like, oh, you know, there's only 3 of them, and then
Yeah,
you
but
like
you've
see the
seen
second,
50.
third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth. And, you know, there's only 3 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how many there were, but
There used to be one parked around the street, around the corner from my old house, just rotting.
well,
on
it
the
says
street.
Future Liner number 10 was nominated for inclusion. And how many did they actually build?
Well, if it says 10.
Well, that's number 10. I don't know how many total. That's just a lot of. Oh, look, there's a list of Future Liners.
6, 7.
They actually built that many of
I
them.
mean, I heard the same thing from my dad.
12.
He said there was a couple of them around here
It was
back
up in
in
Wisconsin.
like the 80s
12.
or something that were just sitting there
Rotting.
12 of them.
There's a private owner.
That would be a hard thing to restore.
I wouldn't want to take that project done.
Just
Nicholas Johnson. There's one in Sweden. There's one in Germany. Peter Pan Bus Lines owns one. There's a Chrome Cars in Germany owns one.
Do you guys do a lot of car builds for people in Europe?
A
two.
handful, yeah. There's a lot of chassis. But, yeah, I think one went to...
One went to Germany. One went to the Netherlands.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we've done.
On complete builds, yeah.
Sweden has a lot of American car guys.
We've sold a lot of chassis to Sweden.
Yeah. Which is bigger, Sweden or Australia?
Australia.
Yeah, those guys are nuts.
10 to 1, probably.
Yeah. That's cool.
Australia dudes. We've got a huge fan base in Australia for the podcast.
And they like you.
Lots of Australian guys. Yeah. They like me now. I started talking. Yeah. I realized that.
The Australian flag and the Canadian flag is a little different.
You've said a lot of hurtful things about the Australians.
Well, I haven't said hardly any hurtful things about just about anybody lately because I realize that we actually do go out in public. Turns out a few people do listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid of a lot of people catching me now.
Be careful.
Yeah. I'm not afraid of the Canadians though.
Yeah, neither am I.
No.
Aussies are awesome though.
Also, yeah. There's a couple of guys from Aussie that's in the same group that probably for the last 15 or 20 years at NSRA in Louisville, I've always found myself in that group with either Alan or Paul right about the same time. It's usually you get caught when it's like, all right, I've had enough. We're going back to the room, right? And you pass a couple of lines of cars, and then you get caught, and you're like, oh, man, I'm not making it to the room. Like, this is going to be another 2 hours in. And it's always that same little group in Louisville, at the host. It's like, oh, shit, here we go. It's another 2 hours of drinking.
Fly here, buy a car.
Yeah.
And
then drive to California and drive, Great
buy
group
like
of
a
guys.
60-something Cadillac and just cruise around.
I have a cousin. I have some family in New Zealand, and they did that. One of my cousins, when she was like 22, she graduated from college. It wasn't even a car person. She flew into LA, went on Craigslist, bought like some shitty old 70s Class C motorhome, spent 3 months just driving around the country.
No shit.
And then ended up on the East Coast, put it on Craigslist and sold it and flew home. And I'm like, that is balls. I don't think.
It's pretty cool though.
How many 22-year-old American girls would do that?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Zero.
Every Australian ever met.
Imagine going to New Zealand and doing that.
Right.
I'm going to go to Australia. I'm going to buy
that car.
40-year-old guy doing it.
Yeah, I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a car. And I'm going to, I wouldn't dare navigate.
And not like a new car, like a shit box that's probably going to break down and has had a ton of different
ballsy.
maintenance. Yeah.
Is that ignorance is bliss? Like you're not paying attention to what could happen?
Yeah,
Probably.
It's not the destination, it's the journey. Have fun. Every Aussie I've ever met, though, especially car Aussie, can drink.
Really?
Holy shit, they can put them down. I think it's something to do with being upside down all their life, and then they
Those
come
are the
here
size of
to
Foster's
USA.
cans.
It's the gravity and the alcohol, something different.
It's like athletes from Denver. They get here and they come
The altitude, the lack of oxygen.
Yeah. So what's coming up next for Kahn Media, man? You got your fingers in a lot of different things. You got employees spread out all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a lot going on. We it's cool. We have a lot of event stuff. I'll be honest, this whole ending of the EV mandate thing has been sort of a mixed bag. I'm not personally an EV guy. So personally I'm like, good. Professionally, some of our clients build EVs. So that's been sort of interesting. But on the flip side, our experiential business is kicking ass right now. We just got done hosting a ton of people out of King of the Hammers. That was really good. That was, I think, the best King of the Hammers that's happened. And it was...
When you go to King of the Hammers, I'm not do you hang? I've seen some videos.
Are you fighting on the rocks?
So, okay.
There's some partying that goes on. That's
I'm-
full blown Woodstock.
I'm too old, and I actually had to have a conversation with my guys because. So I mean, I've got a couple of, like Luke on my team who's worked for me for a really long time. He's got young kids. He's living on the lake bed for 2 weeks because King of the Motos goes right into King of the Hammers, and there's nothing out there. You're living in the dirt. We got a Starlink so they can at least have internet. But they're running the media center. I mean, that's not a super easy gig.
No.
And they're hosting media out there. And Anna, who I think she was out there hosting media and influencers. And I mean, you're out there and there's no resources. And you're using porta-johns and you're sleeping in a motorhome. And I mean, for 3 days, it's fun. After 10 or 12 days, it gets to be pretty grindy. And I had to talk to my guys because they're going to Chocolate Thunder at night. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should dial it back a little bit because it pops off pretty hard. So, and no, I'm past that now. I'm happy to have a couple of.
I'd like to
I didn't know
experience
it was a big party spot.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It's
dude,
nuts.
the videos online are
Really?
Yeah, it's
Burning Man with air lockers and
Rednecks.
yeah, and neon and glow in the
shit.
dark lasers, fireworks,
and
alcohol,
and as the
Woodstock,
No cops.
and to be clear,
rednecks.
it's our land. We lease it from BLM from sunrise to sunset. So when it's an active race course, it's Hammer King Productions all the way. As soon as the sun goes down, we are not allowed to like be involved, as we meaning like the whole race organization.
Okay.
And then at night, in theory, BLM is supposed to be out there like policing and patrolling or whatever, because it's Bureau of Land Management land. So it's federal land.
Okay.
There's like 6 BLM guys, and there's 100,000 people camping out there. So they're having a real good time.
And they're in places that like doubt land management probably could
You
get
can't
to.
get up there. So they're like they're having a party. And
The Instagram videos are just like, oh, that seems like a bad idea.
Why have we not gone?
We should probably do it at least once. We're getting older, but we should probably at least do it.
let me know. We'll take care of you, and we'll put you up at.
I think we
the
should do
ranch.
it.
And it's if you're a gearhead, I don't even care what kind of car guy you are. The racing is unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Dave Cole, who owns the whole thing, he built this thing. So you guys know what a Ford Centurion is?
Yeah.
Do you remember those
Yeah,
from
they're
like
cool
the
as
90s?
hell.
Yeah, it was like a excursion before the excursion.
Yep.
So he bought like, again, back to the whole buying a really nice rare thing and cutting it up. He bought like a really nice Centurion and then just took the body off and threw the chassis away and basically put like a 4400 series race truck chassis under this thing. It's got a 7.3 Godzilla. It's got long travel suspension, and he can get in this thing. And because he used a Centurion, it's got 4 seats, headsets, radio. iTunes is piped into your headset, and you're going $130 across open desert, and then you hit Chocolate Thunder and you're rock crawling.
What is Chocolate Thunder?
So it's super. So that whole thing used to be like military proving grounds. So it's really, really rugged rock crawling.
Okay.
So it's like Moab level rock crawling, and in between rock crawling obstacles, it's like Mint 400 level open desert racing.
Okay.
So you have to be able to do both. So you have to have like long travel, high articulation suspension to do
And
kind of the high speed stuff,
4-wheel drive,
and lockers and like all the stuff you need to rock crawl.
The guy, you said Dave? Mm-hmm. He does some private parties and stuff with like some bands and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've heard about some of the invite only
last
bands.
year or 2 years ago, he had Sublime out there. Like it's a good
I'm telling
time.
you, it's a. I've never been.
I've
just heard stories
We're
and
missing out on the finer
We
things in life.
we should probably do it.
Yeah, you should.
That event pretty much like created a whole new class of trucks.
It did. Yeah. So the way it started was it was actually Dave and his buddies were just like desert guys that just wanted to go have a good time. So originally it was them like screwing around saying like, hey, desert racing is cool
And
and
they
rock
ran
crawling
out
is
of desert.
cool. Yeah. It's like, what if we did both? Like that vehicle doesn't exist.
I
Like
think that's an old Miller Lite commercial.
yeah.
Wiener Dog, Wiener National.
Yeah, that. And they just started doing it, and it's grown and grown and grown, and it's now the biggest off-road race in the world in terms of like spectators.
Wow.
So it's huge. Like this year, the title sponsors are Ford and Optima. Like it's and I have to compliment Dave. The thing that he has pulled off that I think the hardest thing of the whole deal, beyond even having an off-road race in California, which is not an easy lift, the hardest thing he's pulled off is I think he has better streaming live coverage of a racetrack that's like 50 miles than any other race I've ever seen. And it takes an army. They
Wow.
bring in, they have these like metal like shipping containers, and they stack them up and they put HVAC in them. And they've got guys in there like mission control with like headsets, and they've got like an army of drone operators, and they've got switches, and they're doing live feed. So
Wow.
you can like last couple of years, Craig Peroni, who works for me, who used to be the editor of Dirt Sports, he's writing all of our releases. He's doing all the like race recap coverage, all that stuff. He was physically there. And this year he's like, honestly, it's easier for me to do this at home with the live feed than it is trying to keep track of it in person. So
Wow.
he just stayed home and just had all the live feeds piped in. And he's like, the live feeds are actually better than seeing it in person in terms of just getting all the data. So
Yeah, you be careful out there. That's where the hills have eyes. That's where they.
Is that where they filmed
It's the
it?
exact same
yeah,
place.
no, race week it's awesome. The rest of the year, I don't know if you'd want to like. So that is, I don't know if this is true, but Dave told me, so I assume it's true. That's one of the last places in the Western United States where you can still homestead, because it's so rough that if you just go out there and just
Like,
claim
this is
a
my
piece of
spot.
land, there's no
This is
water,
yours.
there's no power. You're just in the middle of the desert. So like if you just like plunk down a
Yeah.
Nobody's going to fuck with you, huh?
RV and say this is mine, and you live there long enough, it's yours.
Big time desert bears out there. I'm telling you,
be careful.
desert bears like you ain't never seen before.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Alabama Panthers out there too.
No, those are
Fucking Alabama Panthers.
Black Panthers in Alabama. Look it up. How many times have I been wrong in the last?
That was a domestic house.
It was a
cat.
small Black Panther.
yeah, we're doing that stuff. We got Monterey coming up. We got a lot of aftermarket stuff going on right now, which is good. I mean, as you guys know, the industry is going through some stuff, so we're just trying to help everybody navigate that, and that's been interesting. And on the outdoor side with Tread Agency, we're working Beretta now, which is cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yeah,
so,
that's badass.
yeah, that's the second oldest company on Earth.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, they're almost 600 years old.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah, the only company that's older is like a Japanese paper company.
Is that like
Beretta is the
that
second-
can't be
They're
a
not doing bow and
family-owned
arrows,
company, is
or-
it?
There's an ownership group, but the family is still involved.
The original family.
Yeah, so they originally made cannons for like the royal ships
Jesus.
in like the Italian Navy or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, the highlight of my year so far is before SHOT Show, they invited us to their range day for their dealers, and they rented a range outside of Vegas, and they had one of everything they make and unlimited ammo.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, this is not a bad day. Like,
No.
Where did the
No.
company originate?
in Italy.
I'm going to find the bottom of those bottomless tostadas.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah. Then that's literally what happened. Like by the end of the day, you're just burned out.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay,
I've
I
shot
don't
You
it.
know.
win. I'm putting it down.
Yeah, like I don't want to shoot anymore. And I've never said that before.
Talking about Monterey, Dan thinks we need to bring the cord to Monterey.
I do.
Oh.
I think you're going to piss off everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like that would piss some people off.
Yeah.
We keep talking about doing it, and we just got to figure out the why.
It is and show up.
The why and how.
Get the client on board. Like if you've got a client that is like, yeah, this is the thing I want to do. You know who actually did really well was that it's like it looks like a Devon or like a Delay's car. You know that like metal body like
Rick
sports.
Dorr?
No, it's not Rick. Well, yeah, he's gone
Yeah.
too. But no, like Marcel Delay and Luke Delay. You know
Yeah.
the Luke Delay, like it's like it kind of looks like a Scarab or a Devon. It was at Grand National. It's like he left it metal finished. It's like a like a hand built aluminum sports car.
It was at Triple Crown.
yeah. He took that car to the Quail,
Okay.
and it was cool because like
a cool car.
it's a hot rod and it's cool, and like nobody knew what to make of it, and everyone's just kind of going like, I don't know what to think of this, and to me that's awesome.
Make their minds work a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be neat to bring the cord out to something like that. I finally drove that car for a little bit. We just got it fired up, had a little break in the weather here. It's the most surreal experience ever.
I think it's sick.
You're doing like 75 miles an hour down the road with one hand on the wheel.
Scarf just blowing in the wind.
No, I didn't have a scarf on. We didn't. It was just some test and tune stuff. But
You were
Wasn't
like
ready for a photo shoot.
Fedora and like a
yeah, once we get it like done, I'll have to.
That's a high collar. That's a
accessorize.
popped collar leather jacket.
Is that what?
Nice,
I don't- yeah, I
nice
don't-
leather, long
I don't know what
coat.
it would be.
I've loved those cars. I just think they're
I've always
cool
loved
looking
them too.
But you fixed
I've-
all the stuff that's not.
I've
great
never
about
liked
them.
them.
Like the weird front wheel.
Never
bar
liked
thing.
them.
Really?
I like that. But
I like the front.
I-
I like
Who
the
could
back.
not?
You do like the front?
Yeah.
I thought the front was stupid.
I like the front too.
I
Dude,
didn't like it.
That, to be honest with you,
I don't like it.
that drives a fucking stake in between us.
The front's not good, in my opinion.
Stop. Yeah, we can edit things out on this podcast, which for your benefit, that would be the best thing we could do. There's nobody that knows anything about anything that would ever say that the front of that car looks bad. It's one of the that's like
we could do a poll if you want to do a poll.
100%
That's fine, we can do a poll.
That'd be like, you know what the worst car Chevrolet ever did is the C2 Corvette. There's just something odd about
Nobody
the shape
says
of
that.
the car.
You couldn't see out the rear. They had a
Yeah,
split
they'd be like, oh, the
window.
split window is terrible. It's got a blind spot in it. That would be the equivalent of that.
I just don't like it. It look like two pieces put together. They don't fit.
The back is not good. Everybody knows that. The front is.
Is that a boat tail? Is that what they would call it?
It's not. It could have been a boat tail.
Should
Maybe
have
that
been a
would have
boat
been
tail,
better.
yeah.
The back's not great on
because
this
it kind of like comes together, but it has like a weird like a wedge thing.
It's
on
just
it, but-
odd. It's like bobbed. It's like they spent all the time because
And
the
the money
front,
on the front.
the front, to counteract Josh's horrible point.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the only one that doesn't think that.
I guarantee you, I would venture to guess you could quite possibly be the only person that doesn't like the front of that car.
That doesn't like the front of a 37 cord coffin nose. They call it a coffin nose. I've always seen coffins. I'm like, you want to tell me coffin's badass?
If
you could put that on a car, I'd fucking love it. If you could put the coffin on the front of a car.
The definition of deco, like the deco era of they would just say 37 cord. I don't know, 37 cord. Like if I had to explain deco.
I mean, I see the ribbing of the deco thing, but as far as a car and good looking in the front, the stock version of a 37.
I wish you would take that back.
I'm just telling you.
I honestly
you don't like mushrooms either, and I do. Right?
That's not. Yeah,
it's completely different.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you guys did a good job.
Thank you.
I think
it's a cool car.
The wheels are cool. Everything about it's cool. There's no violations on that car. It's spot on.
Dude, I honestly want to fight you over that. Like,
dude, it's not a good-looking car stock in the front end. It's not.
You're wrong on that one.
Yeah.
There's no headlights. They're hidden away.
I think that's cool.
What? Okay, yeah.
In the 30s,
what's
that was
the
crazy.
thing that always sucks to deal with? Fucking headlights.
It sets the proportions
so
of
in
a car like
37,
that.
it's like, guess what? Fuck the headlights. Make them go away. When have you ever been like, oh, the coolest thing? Oh shit, headlights. Let's put headlight. Like
they on a car that's got bulbous fenders like that. You need something to fill that gap.
No, you don't.
Yeah, it looks unfinished.
We're gonna pull this. We're pulling this.
That's fine. Poll it. Poll it. 30. Poll it.
Shocked.
We need to figure out. Do you think that there is a place? You do Monterey all the time, and we've just talked about like pissing off the purists. How's that gap get bridged? Because there's a lot of the consumers that are into both things.
I think it's happening right now. So first of all, I mean, we were talking about Bruce earlier. Bruce built the bridge because it's not something he talks about openly, but he is the only reason hot rods are even part of Pebble Beach.
Really?
And he lobbied for years. Now, why he did it, maybe it was because he had some really cool hot rods. Maybe it was because he just felt really strong that they needed to be there. But as he tells it, he lobbied Sandra Button, who's like the CEO, or I don't know what her actual title is, but she runs Pebble, which is kind of one of the two kind of marquee things of Car Week. He lobbied her for years to say, look, hot rods are an American thing. They are worthy of being on the lawn of Pebble. And I think, honestly, just ground her down over time enough to the point where she finally
bring your little toy here and put it out there.
Like whatever, we'll stick it at the edge of the fairway. And
that was Doan Spencer, right?
Yeah. And so that was Doan. And then they've had hot rod classes 3 or 4 times since. I think Brizio won the last one.
They do it every other year?
Yeah, something like that.
She just give you a little taste. Like, we're not going to do it every year. But
I mean, like, so that's happening. Another example of one is there's this guy named Henry Gong. And he has this 56 Nomad that's like a very mild custom that I think lives in the area. I think he lives in Salinas. And he shows up every year and shows up for every event.
That's cool.
And he just has his mild custom, and he's super cool, low-key guy. Cole Foster built the car.
Never mind.
And just shows up, and he just shows up everywhere. And over the years, because I've been going for a long time, you can see how when he used to show up at events, the Blue Blazer guys would totally turn their nose up at it. And now he'll hard park next to like a Bugatti and get more attention than the Bugatti. And so I think as the audience is getting younger, weirdly, you would think the opposite would happen, right?
Right.
But I think as the audience is getting younger, there's less concern. Well, it's the same thing we were talking about earlier with like the imports and stuff, right? Like, I don't think a 35-year-old who maybe is at a point in his life where he's come into some money one way or another and he's going to Monterey gives a shit.
No.
I think he just wants to see something cool.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy, do you know, you ever heard the name Philip Seraphim? Do you know who that is? He's a relatively young guy. I think he's maybe in his early 40s. And he's a businessman. He owns a whole bunch of companies. And when Bruce Myers, with an S at the end, who owned Myers Manx, died, he bought the rights to that company, and then he hired Freeman Thomas, who was like the head of design of Volkswagen, to run the thing.
Okay.
And they're like producing both restored Myers Manxes. They have like an EV version.
EV one's cool.
It is cool. He showed up at the Quail. The first time was like maybe 5 years ago, and we've worked with the Quail for a really long time. So I remember when this happened. He called the Quail and said, I want to exhibit at your show as like a sponsor, but I don't want a booth. I want to lease all the sand traps. And they're like, okay. And then he just parked Myers-Manx's in the sand traps.
That's genius.
And it was genius, right? Because every young guy who's under 40 is walking around taking Instagram photos and video because it looks awesome.
Yeah.
What's cool is that's another thing that Josh thinks looks horrible.
The Manx?
Yeah. Oh, he hates them. They're ridiculous. It's a horrible design.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think it makes
They're carnival cars. It's like what you would ride on at a carnival. That's what you'd pay
You're
money
taking-
and
you're
to go in a
taking some-
circle.
You're taking some major losses.
I'm just saying.
You're alienating
There's
yourself.
cool ones that we've seen
You're
done.
going to live on
but
Josh's island after tonight. It's going to be a lonely island.
Dude,
Dude,
that's my fucking... That's not punishment. If I could live on a lonely Josh's
Thomas
island...
Crown Affair holds up. Like the real Thomas Crown Affair, not James Bond Thomas Crown Affair, but like
There's...
driving away
No.
Faye Dunaway in a bikini. Come on.
But it's like he's driving her car. It's I get it. There's something for everybody, but that's just not.
I got you. Moped, fat chick,
Yeah,
dune boogie.
I'm sure it'd be fun,
Yeah.
right? But you're not pulling up to the light and be like, and that fun. It's just not happening.
But I mean, it's changing, and I think the Blue Blazer Duesenberg thing. I mean, I get it. Like the Duesenberg thing is cool, but
Sure.
Maybe it's just because that's your era. Like when you grew up, those were the cool
I love a
cars.
Duesenberg.
Yeah.
I think they're awesome.
same. If I had unlimited money, there would be one in there.
Oh yeah,
But
on a chassis with where I could drive it.
But like
with giant headlights. You like the big headlights.
I do.
Because you got to show the headlights.
Headlight. It's a compensation thing. If you got the bigger the headlights, the bigger the man. That's what they always have said.
Like a couple of spotlights there.
like one of the things I just found this out this week at the Rolex reunion, which is like the vintage racing happens up there. They're going to have a whole class of 70s and 80s era F1 cars.
That's cool.
That would be really cool.
I've never experienced that. That sounds awesome. Like I want to just sit in the bleachers and watch that. I want
That's
to watch
very cool.
like Senna era F1 cars haul ass. Like that sounds really cool.
It's got to be a sliding scale, right, of what was cool for people of that age that's that old.
Right.
Like, there's got to be
Yeah.
fewer and fewer people that are into the pre-war stuff and the brass era. And
Yeah, and I
what's gonna
wonder
be
like
next.
that kind of you guys were talking about like building hot rods for trophies. It's the same kind of thing. That whole world is newer to me. I came from the hot rod side of things, and I've had to learn that whole other side of the world industry. And like the whole thing where there's like a guy with a clipboard and he's like going around your car and like judging the restoration and like, well, the grease pencil marks on the frame rail really should be like,
Yeah.
2 millimeters wide and they're one. So like, I don't get that whole thing.
Right.
So I think as like the boomer generation sort of ages out, I do wonder what happens to that whole thing. And I also wonder what happens to those cars.
I wonder what happens to those cars too, because there's a lot of those Duesenbergs in that era of car that I think is super cool.
Oh man,
Yeah, they're
I'm telling you, it's
beautiful.
coming.
And
next.
I keep
It's coming.
I keep waiting for it because we've talked about it actually for a long time about doing like some road tour cars and chassis swap and some of those. They haven't the valuable ones and the sexy ones, the beautiful ones, they haven't dipped yet.
Right.
They haven't
because they're
tanked.
like $2 million to start with. They're not
I
going
know.
to come down to
Well, like,
35 grand and bring a
But
trailer.
wouldn't you think that at some point like that generation's just gone and who wants them?
Well, I mean, not the super rare ones, but I mean, you can find some, there's gonna be some 30s. There's still some like big 30s American cars. There's some 30s Buicks and stuff like that you can find that they're pretty badass and do some shit and then you start it, and then it'll.
Yeah, like a V16 Cadillac or something
Yeah.
like that would be. I mean, you got a Cord out there. That's kind of the
We're
same
getting-
thing.
Yeah, but let's do a good looking one, like an old one that's good looking.
Honestly,
I
I've
know.
never been.
Now I know that's a
fucking
scab
pissed
there.
off.
Okay.
Honestly, it's for your
I
own
know.
good because you're making yourself sound fucking stupid.
No, I'm never worried about what I sound like.
On this one, you should be because I think you're alone. I think you're alone on this one.
I'm telling you what, right now, you're going to be surprised
No.
at this poll.
Okay, we shall see.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
I don't know though. I mean, my grandfather was born in 21, and he was a car guy, but he was part of that generation that was like he was in like a Model A club, like
Yeah.
stock restored. Like he didn't understand hot rodding. He thought that was wasteful. Like he didn't get it. And I remember when that generation went away in the 90s, You could buy restored Model A's
Oh yeah.
all day long for like 10 grand. Like they were cheap.
That was a whole restored Model A's was a whole subculture.
There was clubs. There was
Yes.
like, I remember
a
like
whole complete subculture.
there was like a diner not too far from where I grew up that they used to have like the Model A club.
There was
They'd
a
have,
couple of great black
tons
and
of
white catalogs just strictly for Model A restoration stuff.
remember.
I would get that stuff for hot rod shit, like for fuse
'cause
box stuff and
You
wiring
can
and
buy
stuff.
the wood kits and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and every once in a while, even now on the auction sites, you'll see a replica of a stock Model A show up.
Yeah.
And they're kind of gross and they're like super cheap. And you're like,
Yeah.
you can just buy a stock Model A.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like, why would you want that?
I mean, that's wild to think we're 95 years now about on a Model A since they produced them.
28.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
they're still so readily available.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the
It's just thicker steel.
Well, what was the volume? Somebody said something about it when you looked at like all of Mustangs produced. I'm just talking my ass now, but there's
Somebody here should know.
Josh should know the volume of Model A's produced from 28 to 31 was something like Mustangs produced.
From the
From
start
like-
till now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts. Like it was a shit. It's just a shit ton. I think is basically that.
Oh, they were. I mean, they
trying to
pump
say.
out. They're pumping out more F-150s a day right now than pretty much any other manufacturer
I'm gonna look
around.
it up.
But I think they were pumping out 3 times or more than that of Model A's a day back then.
So let me ask you a question. Is there ever going to be a collectible E EV?
No, because I don't think anybody would want to touch one from the like a technology standpoint.
I'm not saying they're going to want to touch it. I don't think it will be around.
No.
But at the same, I'm not saying there won't be collectible. Look at how much a original iPhone goes for. Look at how much a original Nintendo 64 goes
Oh, I
for.
see. So you're saying because it's tech, like nobody wants old tech.
No,
So they just throw it away.
right. But if then there's a point because everybody threw it away, they become that much more rare. So then when it does come back around to be nostalgic, there's so few of them that the price goes up.
That's true. Yeah, I wanted to buy an original Macintosh just to like have on like the
Yeah.
shelf
Good luck.
because I thought they'd be like $100.
No.
So I wanted one to like have like on the shelf in my office, and I found out like holy shit, they're like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, 80s and 90s, like even the damn Nokia brick phones coming around, like that thing
I got a
is going
couple
for
of those.
big money.
Yeah, I got a couple of those
I got a
hidden away.
GoPro 1 in my office, and Elio was looking through. He's like, "Holy shit, you've got a GoPro 1?" Yeah, we were at SEMA. I bought it like on the SEMA floor from them like the first day they were out. I just haven't gotten rid of it yet. It's like those are worth like thousands.
Yeah, that should.
Is it?
I have some information.
Go ahead and give it to me. You've looked it up.
So in 4 years, Ford produced almost 5 million Model A's. From 1965 until current, there's been 10 million Mustangs produced.
Wow.
Way.
Yeah. So that kind of puts it in
I
perspective.
had no idea they had that much volume. Wow.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was the whole point. That was the whole point of the thing. It was the common man's car. Shit them out. I mean, it was the Volkswagen of America. Like, pump them out.
He was selling to his own employees.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
Get them out. You talked about employees earlier. Talked about you had a lot of remote people. You've also I'm trying to. This is probably not the best way to. I'm not going to go down that road.
Say it, man.
No, you don't have just Kahn Media employees. Like you have people that are fucking badasses in their space working for Kahn Media. It's fucking cool. So Anna, for example, right? I had no idea she even worked for you, right? And then, she's put together some stuff. She actually put together this. But I'm sure she does a really great job for
She does. Yeah.
She's a fucking badass.
She is a badass.
That shit, I don't know if you even know who we're talking about.
She's
I'm gonna pull her up.
5 feet of fury, man. Don't piss Anna off.
We're trying, she's always in fucking Dubai or Abu Dhabi or whatever it is, but she's going to do a podcast. She keeps saying she's going to do it remote. And I said, you're going to have to do it. Yeah. We're going to put it on the business card and she can come out here and do it in person.
All right.
What's her story?
She's
Anna. So when Anna came to work for us, it was a while ago now. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. Anna's from KC originally, lives in Havasu. And when she came to work for us, she was
races that. So
multi-time world championship jet ski racer.
Okay.
And was kind of doing her own motorsports marketing thing. came to work for us.
That looks like something super foreign.
And then it is. This came about only in the last like 2 years, and she approached
Did you see
us.
these things race?
So those are electric.
Yeah.
And
electric outboard?
It's an electric outboard.
Hydrofoils, right?
Yep, hydrofoil. So it comes up on the hydros. And she came to us and said, hey, like the whole series is owned by like a Middle Eastern royal. And they've got races all over they're in like Monaco and all these crazy places. And her team owner is Mark Anthony, you know, the singer.
Yeah.
And they've got another team that's owned by Tom Brady, and Will Smith owns a team.
Really?
And she came to us and said, hey, I can still run all my accounts and travel all over the world and do this. Are you cool with it? And I've never, like, to me, like any other person, to be totally honest.
You're
I'd be
old
like-
school.
I'd be like, no, not even close. But she's such a badass that I'm like, you know what? Prove it. If you can do both, then do both. Let's see what you can do. And she
That's wild.
freaking does it, man. She's sending pitch emails on 14-hour flights to Saudi Arabia
Where does she live?
in Havasu because it's the jet ski racing hub of the world.
Let me see a video of her on a jet ski. Let's see some jet ski.
Let's find a jet ski.
There you go. On your left.
Legit
I know.
stand up.
Yeah, no, it's all, yeah. I don't even think that's her. I think that's one of the kids she's coaching. She coaches a bunch of like girls, like young women to
Really?
get them going. That might be her. But yeah, she's won, I think, the world championship 2 or 3 times.
Wild life.
You know, Burns, who I think you know, Josh, he's a pretty competitive nationally ranked pro shooter.
Is he
Yeah.
ISPCA or what?
Yeah. And he did 3-gun.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've known Corey for. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of in my business is not our client list. It's not a revenue number. It's that when I started running the business, I was a real asshole. And because I worked for a guy before me who was a tyrant, and I sort of thought that's how you have to run a business. And I had to go through some pretty serious shit. Like when COVID happened and all of a sudden everyone's remote, and then like, remember that whole like great resignation thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we lost
We lost some people.
a lot of people, and recruiting was super hard.
Yeah.
And I had to have a real look in the mirror and be like, okay, you're a dick. And like, I wouldn't want to work for you. And how do I build a team of the best possible people I can find and then figure out how to trust them enough to let them do their jobs? And it was hard. And like I had to go through some, I talked to a therapist. Like it was,
So what'd you do to flip that script?
well, I mean, having 25% of my workforce quit within 6 months definitely was the starting point. And I'm like, well, this is hard.
So were you like, I'm the problem?
Yeah, no, pretty much. Like the first time it happened, like that person's an asshole. And then after like the 5th time, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm the asshole.
Okay.
And, you know, it took a bit. And then I think the final straw was I had a guy who had worked for me for like a decade, and he was pretty high up in the company, and he left in a really shitty way, and it really stung. And that's when I finally went like, okay. And I'm very proud of the fact that even now, I mean, we've got a lot of employees that have been with us for over a decade. But that was when I finally had the moment where I'm like, okay. And at the same time, not going to lie, while all this is going down, I'm also going like, I don't want to live in California anymore. So what does that mean? And that's when it finally dawned on me, like, I'm never going to go back to where we were in 2019, where there's 30 or 35 people sitting in a building. Like, so if I'm not going to necessarily live here full time, and if I'm going to have people that are all over the country, I'm going to have to figure out how to make this work with people that are all over the place. And the only way that works with creatives, because you guys know what it's like managing creatives, like, it's not the same thing as managing a bunch of like accounting staff or something. I mean, they're all.
I mean, if you'd like to do it, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you do your own thing, but like, I mean, one idea would be, I mean, I understand it's stupid. It's probably a stupid idea. So do your own thing.
So like, it's like, okay, I have to figure out how to manage creative people who are very emotional and have very strong opinions and don't like being told what to do. And in some cases can be very passive aggressive. And I'm like, how do I do that and keep these people around and keep them focused and trust that they're going to show up and do their job every day without me looking over their shoulder? And that's when I was like, okay, this is a culture issue, and it starts with me. And so I just started working on that really hard. And it's like, okay, I'm going to figure out, how do I show them what I want them to do, tell them what I want them to do, and then sit back and let them do it and make corrective actions when needed. And at the same time, since day one of the company in 2008, I always said, because I've worked in this industry my whole life. And I remember being an editor at Peterson and getting pitched from PR people who had no frickin' idea what we wrote about and what we did every day. And I'm a technical editor at Hot Rod and at Rod and Custom and at Super Chevy. And I've got like these like 25-year-old PR girls calling me up and pitching me on like stick-on rear view mirrors. And I'm like, have you ever actually picked up my magazine? Like, do you have any idea what I do for a living? And they didn't. And I was annoying as hell. So my mentality from the beginning was, I'm only going to hire people who actually want to be in this space, who do this for a living, who care about this, who are actual car people. And I don't actually care if they're a Volkswagen person or an import person or a truck guy or girl or whatever, or jet ski racer. I just want them to be passionate about something with an engine in it. And because if they actually care about it, they're going to want to show up every day. And if they don't, it's a job. And the first time some other agency that's like doing PR for a toothpaste brand comes along that offers them an extra $3 an hour, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
So that's when we really did the shift of like, okay, we're going to lean hard into hiring enthusiasts. And I can hire an enthusiast, and I don't care if they didn't even graduate from middle school. If they're a clear communicator.
Most enthusiasts.
Right. Well, right. And I mean, I'd say only about half of our staff even has a degree. I don't care. Like one of our video guys, who is one of the best video guys I have ever worked with, came here as a kid as an immigrant. He's super shy. He doesn't like talking out loud to people. But at his interview, he showed up and he had a terrible interview. He just wasn't a good communicator. So he'd really just, we're sitting there trying to talk to the guy and he's not really expressing himself very well. And that is what it is. And then as he went to leave, I kind of looked through the window and looked in the parking lot, and he's got a Mr. Fox body.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's cool. I didn't know they did a Fox body in Mr. And he's like, they did, and I painted it. Like, you painted it? Like, you? He's like, yeah, I sprayed it in my driveway. I go, oh, dude, I want to check that out. So I walk over, and it's got an SN95 dash in it.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's cool. Did you do that? He's like, yeah, man, I had to make my own wiring harness. And he pops the hood, and it's got a 3-valve 4.6. I'm like, wait, okay, wait, like, come back in. Like, we got, let's
restart.
Do over. And as it turns out, this guy is unbelievable, because like, we're like, hey, do you know anything about like digital animation? He's like, no, but I'm going to figure it out. And then he'll spend a whole weekend watching YouTube videos, and now he's doing like digital animation and renderings and stuff. So like,
that's fucking awesome.
it was a total shift of mindset.
Does anybody really give a shit about degrees anymore?
Nobody cares. And I literally, I just had this conversation with my oldest kid like a week ago, and my wife was not thrilled that I was having this conversation.
I've got one that's finishing up that's expensive, and I got one finishing up high school that's not going. So
I'm like, you do what you want to do and just kick ass.
I just do it well.
Just do it really well. Nobody cares.
it's wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was for us, that was the big pivot, is like find people who really, really give a shit.
The give a shit is the thing. We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
The give a shit is something that you cannot buy, be taught, or whatever. Like it's, you either have it or you don't.
The guy that we have working on the Blueprint Engines account, you might know. Do you know Mike Murray? He used to work at the shop, the trade magazine years ago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've known Mike forever. And he worked at the shop for a long time doing ad sales. And then he went and worked for another place for a while. And he was just looking for a job. And hardcore, like he wrenches, he builds all of his own stuff. He's got like a Phantom dually. He's got a bunch of he's got square bodies. He's got OBSs. And we hired him a few years ago, and because he just needed a job. And I know he's a car guy, and I know he's super passionate. And he's like, I've never done what you do. I don't know how to do social media. I'm like, well, you just like LBZ swapped your OBS. Did you know how to do that? No. Well, fucking figure it out, man.
Right.
And he did. And now he's really good. And I think that's kind of the superpower of what we all do for a living, is like you kind of just figure something out. There's no,
right.
I mean, that's like famously the problem with the aftermarket, with the exception of maybe your chassis, right? It's like nothing ever works the first time you try and use it. So you just have to like
figure it out.
Figure it out. And so we've built a whole culture around that. And people like Mike and Anna and Corey, and it's been cool. Like we've got a lot of people that are willing to hustle and do that. So
That's awesome.
Dude, hats off to you.
thanks.
Been fucking fun. We got I can't remember when we did the last one. Did we do a law enforcement interaction story?
I don't know.
I think that was before we were doing that little
All
stuff.
right, I couldn't remember if we did because I don't remember the story, but we're gonna do it now. Standard question time, right? I know we did all the rest of the standard questions, but we're gonna change it up a little bit. Before I get to that, in the book, is anything about what you just talked about, management and leading a team and any of that kind of stuff in that, or is this strictly
marketing and
Okay.
PR. Yeah.
All right.
Leadership will be the next one.
The next one? I was going to say.
Yeah. That's the one that got rejected, so I'm going to make another run at it and see if I can.
Take another crack.
I got a standard question off of that. Sorry to interrupt. How does a marketing guy market his own book?
I'm here.
Besides
Put
like
the
a
work in.
critically acclaimed podcast that everybody in the world listens to.
No, that's a good question. And it's a weird deal because it's such a new thing for me. The book thing is a totally new, like that ecosystem is so different. The publisher does have like a marketing person and she has, so there's two things happening at the same time. There's what I'm doing and there's what they're doing. And what they're doing is a totally new thing for me where the Amazon, you want to hear like a shitty mom, like making you feel bad about yourself story.
Absolutely.
They're doing the publisher, so Forbes Advantage Books is doing a great job with their part of the marketing. And one of the things they're doing is they're like, hey, like 95% of book sales today happen on Amazon. So, and most people, like the algorithm within Amazon that recommends, like if you guys go into Amazon and say like marketing book, the algorithm that figures out what to recommend to you, it's based on reviews. So she's like, we need to stack reviews as fast as we can. I'm like, well, I have no idea like how to do that. She's like, we do. So there's this whole like world of marketing that I have no knowledge about that they're really good at. And so one of the things they did is with like the Kindle thing, like basically there's a website called Goodreads that Amazon bought. That's like the Yelp of books. So they were pushing out basically a discounted version of it on Kindle to the Goodreads community. And she's like, yeah, this is going to be great because there's all these people that love reading business books on Kindle. And if we like mark it down for like the first month that it's on sale, people are going to buy it and they'll review it if they like the book. And I think they're going to like it. And I was like, now for the first time, I'm the client. I've never been the client before. And I'm like, I have no idea what any of that means, but cool. And it totally worked. So we had like 28 reviews coming in the first month and it had like a 4.8 out of 5-star rating. So that part they did awesome. They did a really good job. The part we're doing is something that we call authority marketing, where basically by saying, look, like I don't know anything about most things, but I know a lot about this one specific thing. So, I'm happy to come talk about this one thing that I'm really good at, which is sort of the new modality in marketing. So like we're doing a seminar at SEMA. We're doing a seminar at the SEMA of the firearms industry is called the NSSF. We're doing one at the SHOT Show. We're doing one at their marketing leadership conference, doing podcasts, doing, a lot of that kind of stuff, where it's kind of doing a road tour. And a lot of it's actually public speaking and going and just talking about the lessons in the book. And then like drip campaigns and email marketing and stuff like that. So it's been new. It's been a learning curve.
That's a whole nother animal.
Teaser for Oil and Whiskey. What's something that you're going to learn in this book? Or that you should learn from trying to get into the marketing side? And
so one of the things we talk about a lot, kind of that's a thread throughout the book, is finding your tribe. And I think a lot of people, even in the automotive space, what they don't understand is they think you need to have like a huge megaphone. You need to have a huge reach. And like even today, like with our clients, we have people that like want to talk about like how many followers are we going to have on Instagram? How many followers are we going to, and I'm like, that's totally not relevant anymore. That was a great conversation to have 10 or 15 years ago. But at this point, your reach and your engagement is so much more important than your tribe. And so we talk about like an analogy that I give is up until a couple of years ago, I think that in marketing, and this applies to a car builder, a shop, a retailer, whatever. The old school idea in marketing was like, so you know who Copernicus is, right? He's the one who figured out, like before Copernicus, everyone thought that the Earth was the center of the solar system and of the universe, and everything orbited around us, because you look up in the sky and there's like the sun and there's the moon. Copernicus is the one that figured out, like, no, he did the math and figured out, no, the sun is the center and we're orbiting around that, right? So we're having like a Copernicus moment right now in marketing, where everybody thought up until basically now that their brand and their website was the center of the solar system, and that everything they did needed to orbit around that. And what we're finally realizing is no, the customer is the center of the solar system. So everything you do needs to feed back to that customer, not your website, not your brand. And the way we can prove that is there's, like, with Gen Z, and even more so with Gen A, with Gen Alpha, they're now the first generation that the majority of search they're doing isn't on Google. It's on social platforms. They're doing more search on TikTok and on YouTube than they are on Google. So you could have the coolest website on earth.
You're not going to find it.
Doesn't matter. Like SEO, I'm having conversations on a regular basis now where people are like, SEO, and we need to spend like 200. I'm like, SEO is not relevant anymore. ChatGPT has destroyed SEO in like a year. Like, it doesn't matter. You should have a good website. It doesn't mean like shut your website down.
Right.
Like, at some point, if someone's in like that funnel and they're in the research phase, they need to find your site. They need to get there and they need to find it. But you need to go where they live. You need to find them, because in the discovery process, they may not know your category exists. They may not know your brand exists. They may not know your product exists. So show them how you're going to make their life better. And then if you dig into that tribe and into that niche, the thing that's really important is you need to sell them. I mean, like a really old marketing analogy, but it's still totally relevant. A guy named Seth Godin wrote about this like 10 years ago, and it's still relevant. Is he talked about, like, have you ever heard the analogy about like the drill bit, and how when somebody is marketing and selling a drill bit, they're not selling a drill bit, they're selling a hole, right? Nobody's going out saying, I really want to buy that 3/16 drill bit.
They just need a hole.
They just need a hole.
Sell me this pen.
The extension of that isn't even, you're not selling a hole. What you're really selling is, not maybe necessarily to you guys, but to the normal consumer. They're not looking to buy a hole. They're not looking to buy a drill bit. They're making a hole because maybe they're hanging a shelf. Well, why are they hanging the shelf? They're hanging the shelf because maybe they want to organize the clutter in their office or in their room. Or maybe they're doing that because they want to show off something that they've obtained, like the stuff you've got here. Or maybe they want the feeling they get of accomplishment when they hang that shelf by themselves, and then they can tell their spouse, like, hey, I finally did that thing on honey-do list you've been asking for. So what they're actually selling is a feeling. They're selling that feeling of accomplishment that I organized my space. They're selling the feeling of showing off the whiskey bottle collection. They're selling the ability to tell your wife, like,
I've shut my wife up. I'm done.
I did the thing you've been asking me to do for 3 months. So you're selling an emotion. You're not selling a drill bit. You're not selling a hole. Once people figure that out, you can work backwards from that and say, okay, now what story do I have to tell to each individual person in each individual tribe to get them to want to do the research to figure out who it is that I am and what I'm selling.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just a shift
If you really follow it, it does make perfect sense.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're marketing 2 or 3 away from what you're trying to sell to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's funny because before we started recording, we were kind of chatting a little bit about kind of the changing forces of our industry right now. And I think that is something that's gotten lost a little bit. Is I think there was a period of time, well, like you guys in the studio, like there's Melba toast all over the place from Days of Confused. And there's a scene in that movie, anyone who's under like 40 probably hasn't seen that movie, but it's a good movie, where like Matthew McConaughey has like the hood up on the Chevelle, and he's talking about how it's got an Edelbrock intake manifold and a Holley double bumper.
over 30, man.
That's right.
7-to-1 pop-up.
11-to-1.
11-to-1 pop. Yeah.
7-to-1. That didn't make any kind of horsepower.
Fucked that one up.
Yeah. And like that is a time capsule of not only the 70s when the movie took place, but also the 90s when it was written.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Having an Edelbrock intake manifold and a Holley double pumper carb was something that you would brag about to your friends.
Meant something.
Yeah. Like, and like it was because it gave you something to brag about. It was an emotional thing that you were buying. I don't know that, you know, Richard Linklater, who wrote that movie, necessarily even was a car guy, but he knew what those brands were.
Yeah.
that showed up in a line in a major movie that's still become kind of a cult classic.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe we've gotten a little bit away from that, and we need to get back to that. I think you guys, to compliment you, have done a really good job of that. I sent Josh a note after SEMA that the little like best on RS like lawn signs with the white picket fence was probably the best single piece of marketing I saw at the SEMA show this year, because it was on election day. And there's these little lawn signs, and like now it's gotten to the point now where like every major car build has like 6 little wheel stands next to it.
Yeah.
Yours stood out. It was cool, and it made people smile. You elicited an emotional reaction. Like, I think that's the goal.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great to hear from somebody like you, man.
Yeah, so good job.
We got a hell of a lot of respect for you, so that's cool to hear.
Likewise.
We're going to do one standard question since we already did the rest of them, but I don't think we did this one. What is your best law enforcement interaction story?
Oh, man. Okay, it's a good story, but it's not a cool car.
Okay, that's fine.
Most of the law enforcement ones are not the cool car. At least mine haven't been.
When I was in high school, I was a senior, and most of my buddies were juniors. And our buddy Steve grew up in a single-family household, and his dad was a car guy. His dad was actually a Ferrari mechanic.
Oh, wow.
And I think, and his dad worked crazy long hours. He was supporting 3 kids. So his dad wasn't around a lot. But in return for that, Steve had a very, he had probably the coolest car in our school. He had Eric Clapton's former 66 Shelby GT350 with a factory Paxton supercharger.
That's
cool.
that's
He wins.
pretty cool.
Hard to beat.
That'd be cool as kid in the parking lot.
And I think he got it like
Now.
in trade. He like did a bunch of work for like a customer, and like I don't know how that all happened. But what do you think happens when you give a 16-year-old a blown GT350?
Wad that
He
sucker up.
wadded it up on a palm tree. So like, so all of a sudden now like, but Steve also had to drive his sisters around. He had 2 little sisters. So all of a sudden the Shelby's trashed. His dad needed him to still like drive carpool. So he goes to like Enterprise Rent-A-Car and rents an Oldsmobile Achieva and is like, here you go. And what we did to that, I mean, we still talk about it now, and that was 30 years ago. What we did to that car is
You don't hear about the Achieva much.
No.
To be honest with you,
You don't remember it?
I don't remember the Achieva.
It's kind of got a Ford Probish roofline, right?
But it's like GM's version of cab forward Mopar stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was like a mid-size front-wheel drive 4-cylinder
I had no
piece of
idea if I
shit.
saw
Like,
it.
not a good car, right? And yeah, see if you can find a picture of it.
It's going to be a...
There it is. That's
Okay.
the old Achieva.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we take
it's-
this
it's
rental
a
car.
red one.
Yeah, that's a car you fucking thrash.
4-door?
It was a 4-door.
All right.
The first thing we did was we sawzalled the exhaust off before the cat. So it was just open exhaust.
Are you
all the time.
serious?
Yeah. And
This is a rental.
It was a rental. And then we opened the hood up and we took the entire intake tract off.
Oh, yeah. So it
Just
go,
the whole thing. So it was open at the throttle body, open exhaust. It actually got slower when we did all that. And then it had a like, you know, the e-brake where you have to pull it and it's like the handle and it's like a
Pull and
spring-loaded,
twist.
like a pull thing. And what Steve figured out is he took a huge wad of paper and he wadded it up and stuck it in there because it would ratchet. So you'd pull it out and it would stick and
You can get back in.
and it could get back in. So then when it rained, you had a drift brake. So then we have this thing with
That's
open
ingenuity.
exhaust, and we would be out there, and every time it rained, we'd be out there, and we would just loop it every time you could. Like you're on a race street, like we'll do a 360, 30 miles an hour, middle of a school neighborhood, whatever, and then just keep driving. And then one night, the things we did in that car was.
You guys ever run any 104 plus octane boost? Try to get a little extra speed. out
No,
of
we
her?
didn't do that, but we did go to the mall a lot and get the cafeteria trays
Oh,
yeah.
and
Some
put those
burnouts.
under, and just do donuts. So one night we decide we're gonna, and it's front wheel drive only. We're like, we need to do like the ultimate burnout in this thing. So it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I went to like the local supermarket and I bought like 2 gallons of bleach. And we show up and we decide we're going to do this. So we go to the high school parking lot into the principal's parking spot.
Yeah, burn them down.
And we pull up and we just dump a gallon of bleach on each of the front tires. And we're in there and there's like 3 or 4 of us in the car. and we've got the e-brake pulled, and we're just smoking the tires and smoking the tires and smoking the tires. And there's so much smoke you can't see shit. Like it's completely whited out.
Yeah.
I can hear and smell the whole.
Never been there, but I've heard stories about it.
And we are laughing our ass off. We're
That's
like
early 90s tires,
yes,
too. So
and
that's just
this is like
yellow
94, and we're like, we are geniuses. This is the coolest thing anyone has ever done. Like they're going to show up at school on Monday, and they're going to be shocked and horrified. We think this is amazing, and that's when like the beam of light.
Oh,
comes
through the smoke?
right through the smoke.
Yeah.
And then we hear like the bang bang.
Yeah.
Get out of the car.
That's it. You shut it down quick then.
And I'm like, oh shit. And so we shut it down,
Act like you're asleep.
and the door opens, and there's so much smoke you can't see shit. And then there's the officer. Now I'm a senior and I'm 18. Everybody else in the car is 17.
Oh man.
So he's like, get out of the car. So we all get out of the car, and he lines us up. He's like, and I mean, like, can I, like, F-bombs? F-bombs okay?
Yeah.
Fire away. Yeah. He's like, you fucking idiots. He's like, do you realize I was taking my lunch break in this parking lot before you even pulled in? And we're like,
Oh my God, I'm so glad you came. Is the throttle stuck?
like, thought we were going to die.
Thank
And he
goodness.
couldn't breathe. Lines us all up. He cuffs all of us.
Oh man.
And then he's like, give me your driver's licenses. So we all give him our driver's licenses. I wasn't even driving. I was in the passenger seat. And he like looks at everything, goes back to his car, and he comes back and he's like, okay, you two idiots are minors. You're not. And this was like, I think on a Friday night.
Oh.
He's like, so you're going to go to jail
Oh man.
and you're going to spend the weekend in
Not
jail.
on a Friday night.
And you two are going to go home and have to tell your parents that your buddy here is going to be in jail, and all sorts of fun stuff's going to happen to him this weekend.
Like what kind of stuff?
They like to. They like to say that stuff.
Oh, they totally do.
I know.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I was completely unglued. I'm like,
Turns
oh my
out it's
God.
not that true, but
No, and I'm like, oh my God. And he screwed with us for about half an hour, and then finally was like, all right, you idiots. I'll tell you what, I don't want to do the paperwork. I mean, it's like
that's the
normal
way
deal,
it's supposed to
right?
go.
And he's like,
That'd be so much fun in his shoes.
and then he says something which now as an adult I think is genius, but at the time I thought was really evil. He's like, well, I've got your parents' phone numbers in our database from your driver's licenses, so I will be calling all of your parents. So if I was you, I'm not going to get around to it until I'm back at the station tomorrow, so you might want to let them know tonight, because otherwise they're going to hear about it from me.
We've heard that a couple
We
times.
all believed it, all of us. And we're like, all right, sir. Sorry, sir.
I gambled both times and won. It's like, he ain't calling nobody.
We all ass home. I get home. The second I get home, I'm like shitting my pants. I am so freaked out at this point. And I immediately grab my dad, and I'm like, I got to talk to you. This thing happened. You're going to get a call. And I tell the whole thing, and he just starts laughing. And he's like, you idiot. He's like, they don't have my phone number. And by the way, I don't really care. Like, I
Right.
did the same thing when I was your age. Just don't get caught. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just had one the other day. I just had a law enforcement interaction Sunday.
Did you really?
Yeah, we had nice weather right down in the garage, and
Oh, good grief.
me and Wyatt, my son, we're fucking around with stuff. We get like the toys are out, right? We got a old Honda Pilot from the 80s.
Nice.
We've had since we were kids. So now he's old enough that he just loves this thing, right? So he gets in it and he's ripping around the neighborhood and he's going up, and it's a little cul-de-sac and it's a private area, so whatever, right? Goes down, comes back down. Now he's on the three-wheeler. Got a little ATC 70, so he's up there, and then he comes back and he's like, a cop came and he said he doesn't care. I'm not in trouble or anything, but he just says somebody says something about like the red ATV. So like I don't know if he's gonna ask or something, but it's just like the red ATV. You can't. You're not
I'm tired. I'm going
yeah.
inside.
So I'm like, what, dude? Like I didn't see a cop. What? So now I'm like looking up the driveway and I see there's a cop walking around. I was like, oh fuck. So I walk up to the top of the driveway.
What'd he do?
And I'm like, hey, man, how's it go? He was ringing the front doorbell, and my wife was in the shower or something. So I go up there. The guy was super cool, young guy. And he's like, look, man. He's like, hey, how you doing? Like, hey, fucking neighbor called. Like, I have to come out here, right? It's just part of the job. But I guess the red ATV, where the kid, like, I talked to your son. It looks like he's having a good time. Like, it just... Every once in a while, just pop up there and just like keep an eye on him. That way I could say like if I have to come back again, I could just be like, yeah, he's watching him or anything. But like, no problem at all. He's having a good time. Like, just let him do his thing. I'm like, Oh,
Sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because
Which neighbor was? I'm gonna go do donuts
yeah,
in the
that's
yard.
what I'm like. Yeah.
Oh,
But
You know,
every
Wasn't
once
the
in a
guy
while.
with the car and jack stands, is it?
No, I think it's yet again. This is my second situation with people with pit bulls, because they
What?
have massive savage pit bulls next door once again, and I think the dogs go nuts when he
you
drives.
have gotten yourself. You find yourself in situations.
I've actually got a couple friends now that are cops, and I have now found that most cops are actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
And the bullshit they have to deal with on a daily basis is
Yeah.
so ridiculously rough and insane, and like all the domestic violence stuff and like all that stuff. I don't think they care
No.
I think you're right.
about some teenager who's just having a good time, because that was probably them 10 or 20 years ago.
I think it's gotten just because of how worse it's gotten of what people are doing. It's gotten better for just people like us that are just doing just kind of stupid stuff.
Just
Yeah.
being an
Right.
idiot. Like,
They're
They
like,
still
oh,
don't.
okay.
They still don't like speeding. But like
Within
a
reason.
little bark of the tire, full blown, donut or burnout or whatever. Generally, it's kind of like, all right, you got it out of your system.
Well, I think they're they're reluctant to write that. What's the reckless driving ticket?
Reckless driving. Yeah.
yeah.
I think they feel guilty because they know the weight that one carries.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also like getting to the point where I'm too old to even understand this whole like the street takeover thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't get that. Like
Their videos are awesome to watch.
yeah,
though.
they are.
Oh,
But,
I
Why? What is the
love
deal with
watching this.
it's? You cannot be out there without getting depantsed. Like it's those tires love some
Dude,
pants.
we were on a roll. We were sending those back and forth for months. You get
They
on
can take a hit.
Oh my God.
And just
Wow.
get up like
even when
it's
they get
nothing.
plowed by a car. Yeah.
when
it's
they
crazy.
cartwheel. I
Cave
love
a
seeing
quarter
them
panel and
cartwheel.
It's
and the
usually a
pants are
Mustang.
off. Mustang, a lot of C5 Corvettes, Mustang, C5 Corvettes, and then
the Chargers.
Chargers.
My next door neighbor.
C5's gonna be a little hard at
Yeah.
plastic
Well, it
quarter
just
panel.
wrecks
Just-
them.
Yeah.
My neighbor's grandkids live with him, and his grandson, when he turned like 17, bought a C5. I looked at my wife and I'm like, guaranteed,
Street ticket.
it's going to take 2 weeks, and the rocker panels are going to get ripped off that car.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I guarantee it. Just write it
Yeah,
down.
busted.
And sure enough, like, boom, like half the exhaust system's gone, rocker panel's gone. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yep, told you.
Yeah.
That is something else. I see it every once in a while, like right near me. There's a major intersection with multiple turning lanes, and it's big, 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, and there's just donut marks all in the middle of the intersection. Like, who the fuck did that? What are you doing?
Middle of the night, go out there.
I guess
Ripping.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, it's been awesome.
it's been fun.
Been an
man.
amazing time.
I enjoyed it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for
So
coming
where
on.
can they get the book? Obviously,
Yeah.
where books are sold. Right?
Yeah, so the New Rules of the Road, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on barnesandnoble.com. My website is Dan Kahn, KAHN.com, and there's links where you can buy it right there, or you can check us out at kahnmedia.com.
Sweet.
Look at that.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
It is.
Pro material,
Well, look at
man.
that. I mean, we got it right there up on the screen.
That's
Right?
pretty good placement by
Yeah,
you
it's
too.
cool.
Good
It's
angle.
the
It
wood
looks-
background.
This is the kind of professional shit we do, man.
I like
That's
it.
it, man.
Appreciate it, Dan. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.